Well, welcome everyone to the Joint Venture Systems Workshop 2 preview webinar today. Today we're going to be talking about using joint ventures to get the biggest results with the least amount of effort in the shortest amount of time, so you can really explode your business. I am one of the co-hosts, Gina Gaudio-Grace. Students in the Directions U Bachelor's program like to call me Gina, although I'm more popularly known as the JV Queen. And my co-host is Jack Humphrey, the author of Bending the Web. And truly, joint ventures really are one of the biggest web bending techniques and strategies around, aren't they, Jack?
Yeah, and we'll also make them less scary by calling them other things than joint ventures, because there's really it's a thing. Joint venture is the thing that most people understand. They've heard the most, but it's really a lot more than that, and there are words to describe these things we do with other people to leverage our ability to get in front of a lot more people out there and get in front of our target audience a lot better, a lot more effectively, with a lot less effort on our part.
Absolutely. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, one of the things we're going to talk about is inbound marketing. First off, what the heck is it? Why is it important? How does it affect your business? Think about inbound marketing this way. Pretty much everything you do in your business is inbound marketing. Whether you're writing a blog post, whether you're using social media like Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, Pinterest. Jack would say there is no other social media than Google+. Whether you're doing joint ventures, no matter what it is you're doing, including paid traffic, it's all about inbound marketing. So why is it important? Well, you kind of got to get your message in front of somebody, don't you? And inbound marketing is the way that you get people in front of you so that you have customers that buy from you. How does it affect your business? Without inbound marketing, you don't have any sales. So we're going to talk a lot today about what is inbound marketing, why is it so important, how does it affect your business, and what role does joint ventures play in inbound marketing. I'm sure that if you've been online for very long at all, you've heard about do it yourself and done for you. Which one do you prefer? Would you rather do it yourself? Would you rather get it done for you? I know for me personally, I'd much rather have it done for me. The only thing that keeps me from getting it done for me usually is the cost. Think of joint ventures this way. It's a way to get it done for you without having to pay anybody any money until after you've made sales. Now, if that doesn't make done for you your first choice every time, I don't know what could. And the other thing we're really going to talk about a lot today is that joint ventures really are the key to getting sales and fixing what my good friend Ira Rosen, a DU faculty member, likes to call the empty calendar syndrome. Jack, since you and I have been working together, I don't think a week goes by that you don't marvel at how many joint venture deals fall into my lap, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of creepy, really. But it's amazing, and I don't really completely understand how everything happens, but I understand, why. I understand why our calendar together collectively is filling up and is always full with all these people. It's just, it's hard not to get spoiled at this juncture and just go, oh, another ginormous partner, another ginormous JV, another opportunity for massive exposure. Oh, yawn. And I'm not, of course, getting like that, but I
you better not. I'll come
really
kick
weird.
You in the butt if you do.
Yeah.
And why does that happen so frequently?
Joint venture partner.
Man, did we ever. Oh, boy, what a day it's been, guys. So why does that happen in our world so often, Jack? I mean, at least weekly. Some weeks it's almost daily.
Why is just because we're set up to be that way. There is no other thing going on. And I work with local businesses, and I have a membership site that I bring them in and I tell them, you know, just trust me for a few days until you put some of this stuff in action, and then I'll never be able to rip it out of your hands, out of your cold, dead hands, or whatever that guy said about guns. But I'd never be able to take it away from you. You'd never want to give it away. And on top of that, I say that there's a huge number of things that you're doing on a daily basis in your marketing that you just think you have to. You think this is the only way you can do it. And if I'm going to sink or swim, whatever it is, it's going to be based on these tactics that most everybody, conventional wisdom says this is what you've got to do. And, of course, me and Gina and people like us are not very conventional people. And it is very unconventional to dare to even dream that your business can be successful by doing it the way that we do it. And so, you know, most of everything that I did for the first 15 years I was online doing stuff, I did the hard way. And I was young. I was able to do it. I could pull, you know, stay up for 24 hours for launches, things like that if I needed to. And I could drive all the success of my business almost completely on my own shoulders. But I was young. I didn't have a kid. I didn't have things. My life didn't change to you know, I didn't like doing what I was doing all the time anymore. Before, I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. Ooh, HTML. Ooh, PHP. Ooh, copy, sales copy, all this. I'm just going to do it. Oh, I love it, love it, love it. And I burn out. And just like everybody would at some point, I think my threshold was pretty high. I think most people would have burned out long before I did. And I didn't know there was really another way to be doing things. And it comes starting with mindset. It really starts with how you set your business up and how you think about your business, or in my case, how you change your entire business around so that things start coming to you instead of you going out and having to grab everybody by the hair and bring them in yourself, which is what a lot of you guys feel like when you're out there doing social and everything else. It's all on your shoulders. It's up to you. And if it's not up, if I don't get it done, if I don't stay awake and get this work done and do all of this stuff and have all this pressure on my shoulders, then my business is going to fail. So Gina and I are on a constant mission to go and rescue people from that syndrome, because that shortly after that is when you become one of those statistics of the businesses who start and fail within the first couple of years. And we save people from those statistics all the time. I mean, all the time. Because it's just making people aware that there's another way. It's a beautiful, wonderful other way. It's kind of like when people in the Matrix got pulled out of the Matrix, and it's like, hey, this isn't the world you really thought it was. And that's what we do all the time, is pull people out of the Matrix. All of that stupid training that people are doing out there, listening to and buying from so-called experts, really just serves to keep you in a certain part of reality. That's only part of the reality. The other people are out there doing really huge things, and it's all centered around joint ventures.
Very, very true. So you're going to hear the term joint venture a lot today. And before we even introduce ourselves, let's get that right out of the way right now. What the heck is a joint venture? A joint venture is really the coming together of two or more people or entities to achieve a mutual purpose, goal, or objective. So let me repeat that for a minute. A joint venture is the coming together of two or more people or entities, businesses or entities, to achieve a mutual goal, purpose, or objective. And that's really the key, is that last part, a mutual goal, purpose, or objective. If I've got one objective and Jack's got another objective, and the two businesses, my business and Jack's, try to come together and work together, we're not going to get very far very fast, are we, Jack?
Nope.
We really have to identify what our mutual goal is before we can go anywhere. And while I might have my own goals and objectives, and Jack might have his own goals or objectives, we have to agree together on what our joint venture is really going to accomplish. In joint ventures that affect your business, there are always three wins involved. There's the win for you. That's the big one that you always think about first. But even more importantly is the win for your joint venture partner. What's in it for your JV partner is usually different than what's in it for you. And don't make the mistake of thinking that your JV partner is just in it for the money. Because your JV partners, the better ones, they're all going to be people who already have money, who already have ways to make money. They don't need you to help them do that. If anything, you're a distraction. So you've got to figure out what they really would want as their win, and it's usually not money. Often, the win for your JV partner is tied to the third win, and the third win is the win for the customer. Oftentimes, that third win, the win for the customer, is big enough that it trumps everything else. And that one little thing is so huge, the win for the customer, that it will often get your JV partners to say yes, even though you are a distraction, even though they don't need you to make money. So we'll talk more later in this training about how you identify those three wins and how you formulate them. Before we get into the rest of the training, let Jack and I introduce ourselves, because some of you don't know both of us. Who are we? Well, I am Gina Gaudio-Grace. As I said at the beginning of tonight's training, I really am known online as the JV Queen, or the Joint Venture Queen. And it's not a title that I gave myself. It's a reputation that I earned over many years of organizing some of the largest joint ventures and product launches on the internet. In fact, many of the really big names that all of you would recognize, people like Russell Brunson, Sean Casey and Jeff Paul, Mike Filsaime, they're all former clients of mine. I've organized joint ventures for almost every one of the really well-known internet marketers out there. It didn't start out going, yeah, I want to become the JV Queen, though. I started out as an attorney way back in the 90s. I went to the University of Notre Dame Law School, graduated from there. I was on Law Review, actually published a Law Review article and edited it with President Obama back when he was head of Harvard's Law Review. And my goal in going to law school was never, ever to become a lawyer. My goal was pretty simple. I wanted to teach, and I had done the research and learned that law school professors were the highest paid teachers around. So I went to law school as a means to an end. I wanted to be a high-paid teacher. Well, in 1996, I had just gotten accepted to teach at Notre Dame when I got into a major car accident that left me in a hospital bed and wheelchair for nearly 10 years. And during that time, I needed about $9.9 million to pay for my medical bills. So I turned to the internet to open my business as a way of covering the $40,000 a month in medication that was keeping me alive. My very first business was actually an example of a joint venture. The first thing I did was I got into the day trading arena. And even before I opened my quote-unquote business, I knew that there were several websites, almost brand new, that were membership sites in the day trading arena. And I knew that if I could just find a way to get into those membership sites, I might be a little bit more successful as a day trader. But I didn't have the money. I still needed $40,000 a month to pay for my medication. I couldn't afford $500 to $1,000 a month for each of the 5 membership sites I wanted to join. So I went to each one of these membership site owners and I said, hey, I'd really love to be a part of your community. However, I've got a little bit of a challenge. I can't really afford the tuition. Would it be possible for me to come into your membership site once a week and teach your members what I know about day trading? And it turned out I had created this really successful little system that allowed me to double my portfolio every 30 days. They thought it was a good idea. So all 5 of them said yes. So I went in, I started doing my thing. I was in the lunch hour slowdown for an hour once a week. In return, I got a $500 to $1,000 a month membership for free. That worked really, really well. But within a couple of months, each one of the membership sites, all of their members started begging me to open my own membership site. Well, I saw that as, how could I do that to these people who had been so nice to me and given me this membership? I didn't want to hurt them. So I decided that I would find a way to open the membership site and serve the customers, but get a win for these people that were being so nice to me, let's call them JV partners, at the same time. So what I decided to do was my membership site required them to first be a member of one of those 5 sites. As long as they were a part of one of those 5 sites, they could join my membership site for only $125 a month, way cheaper than any other day trading membership site that was out there at the time. Well, that worked so well that all 5 of these rooms, the owners promoted my membership site because it helped them to sell more of their own. And as a result, it didn't take very long before I had 500 people, each paying me $125 a month, bringing me over $51,000 a month to take care of my $40,000 a month in medication that I needed. And that worked really, really well for a number of years. However, in 2000, my health had declined so much that I really couldn't keep up with that anymore. So when that occurred, I sold that membership site to one of my members and opened my next business. And this is where I really started getting into the idea of joint ventures. I didn't even realize that what I had done was a joint venture at that point. My next business was what I thought was going to become an internet ad agency. Well, I knew something about marketing. I'd done it well for my membership site, so I thought I could be an ad agency. Well, in a couple of months, people started asking me for something else that I hadn't thought about. And what they were asking for this time was a new kind of traffic. The first ebook had come out on the topic of joint ventures in 2001. And so these people were asking me for what they were calling joint venture traffic. I knew about marketing online. I had this great membership site. I didn't know what joint ventures meant in the context of traffic, though. I knew what a joint venture was. I was a lawyer, after all. So I decided I'd research it and see if I could figure it out. Stumbled across that wonderful little ebook by Jason Cox and realized what these people really wanted was a joint venture broker. They wanted someone who could step in and kind of connect product creators and service providers to the people that had websites and lists and traffic so that they could sell more of their products and services. And that seemed simple enough. So I said, sure, I can get you guys JV traffic. Let me see what I can do. And I became one of the very first JV brokers on the internet. And that was back in 2001. Between 2001 and 2007, that became my full-time job, if you will. That was my business. I was a JV broker. But I had this big problem that I started to realize in this new business as a JV broker. Remember, I still need the $40,000 a month in medication to keep myself alive. And I started to realize that if I just took people that had amazing products and services and connected them to people who had huge traffic, big lists, sometimes it made money and sometimes it didn't. And that was going to be a bit of an issue for me. If I couldn't make sure that it was going to make money each and every time I did it, I wasn't going to have enough money to pay for my medication. So it took me a couple of years, but I finally figured out a system that could help to ensure that each and every joint venture that I organized was absolutely, positively going to make me enough money to make my medical bills happen. And once I found that system, the word of mouth spread so much that I constantly had a never-ending supply of customers. And I didn't even have to advertise for it. Just word of mouth brought me more business than I could even handle. I always had a waiting list of customers. And that experience is really one of the biggest assets I've ever had. By brokering so many joint ventures in so many different niches with so many different types of businesses, it's really given me the experience that has allowed me to become a coach and mentor today. And again, that change didn't happen because I knew that's what I wanted to do. It was another one of those things that just kind of happened. And it happened starting in 2005 when my doctors gave me just 12 to 18 months to live. By that point, my health had declined that much. and it was starting to look like maybe I wasn't even going to be able to finish my career as a JV broker because I was just too sick. When I got the news from my doctor, my husband and I decided that I wanted to see the country before it would be time to die. So he went into work the next day, told his boss he'd be back, but he didn't know when. He went out and found an RV that he could retrofit with my hospital bed and my oxygen and my IV poles. And we hit the road thinking we'd have about 8 to 10 months to see the country before it would be time to go home and die. Well, 6 months into that trip was my 41st birthday. My husband wanted me to have the best last birthday that I could. So he decided to take me to see a massage therapist in Sedona, Arizona, where we happened to be, hoping that it would help with the pain for just that one day. So he wheels me into her office, gets me up onto her table. She looks at me and she says, "You know, you don't have to die as soon as you think." Now, I'm sort of chuckling to myself, wondering how much she's going to try and charge me for this wonderful piece of advice, because I figured, like everybody else, she was going to try and sell me something. But it turned out she wasn't trying to do that at all. During that one visit, she went on to explain what she meant by it. And she told me that if all I had was a positive mental attitude, it wasn't going to be enough to save my life. Well, that seemed a little strange because she had started out saying that if I could remove the negativity from my life, I didn't have to die as soon as possible. How is that not the same as a positive mental attitude? So she went on and explained that during that visit. And by the time I got done with that really powerful message, I started to wonder, I don't have a lot to lose. Maybe I could do what I'd done so many times and go out and research it and see if I could figure it out. And that's exactly what I did for about the next 4.5 months. And as I researched it, I was able to go from a wheelchair to a walker to a cane to walking with no assistance at all, even though to this day I have no feeling in my legs and feet. I simply balanced through my hips. I was able to stop 42 pills per day, 4 continuous IVs per day. And by the end of just 4.5 short months, not only was I no longer dying, I was 100% well. And it's what I call my miraculous transformation. And it was something that felt like I had been given such an enormous gift that it was one that I absolutely, positively had to repay. I mean, the gift of life. You can't just not repay that, right? So I started thinking about what I had done up until that point in my life. Had I done anything worthy of such a huge gift? And I realized that I'd made a lot of money for a lot of people, myself included. By the time of my miraculous transformation, I had paid off a little over $6.1 million worth of my medical bills, meaning I really had made a lot of money. But I also hadn't done much of anything to make a difference. And for that reason, in 2007, I closed the doors to the brokering business, and I opened the doors to Directions University at directionsu.com. And at DirectionsU, we really help entrepreneurs in 4 areas. We help them get direction for their life as well as for their business. We show them how to get direction, how to give direction to their prospects and their customers. And in the end, our goal is really to help give them and get them to impact the direction of the world. In 2013, I was finally able to start bringing other people into DirectionsU, which had been my vision since the beginning. And one of the first people that came on board is our associate dean, Jack Humphrey. And before we go on to talk more specifically about joint ventures, let me let Jack introduce himself real quick.
All right. Thanks, Gina. So, yeah, I got to come up with, I don't have a leverage-Gina thing. I got to do that. I got to figure out something there.
How about your leverage-ucation campaign?
My leverage-ucation campaign of 2014. And if you say it
I
like that,
absolutely love that phrase.
Leverage-ucation. That, I'm always playing with words. I always used to introduce myself as the guy who's always hanging 10 over the edge of the internet. I've always been right out there on the outside, looking ahead, always. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that if people, had to pick some reason that they followed me over the years, that would be one of the bigger ones, is that I'm always looking to bring back presence for everyone on the edge of the internet. While everybody else has been working with whatever's working today, I'm always looking to see what's going on tomorrow. So I've done lots and lots of things. I started out on the internet that way. I came to the internet from a very, very unconventional background of wildlife tracking and conservation work. I used to do things like I built the wolf reintroduction, wolf acclimation pins at Ted Turner's Ladder Ranch in New Mexico. And so, I did lots and lots of things. We used to go out to the northern Sonora, northern Chihuahua, Mexico, and do wilderness survival training and tracking and things with city slickers that belong to the Sierra Club and places like that. Thought that they would be a little bit better equipped, but it was more of a babysitting job to keep them alive, because while they cared an awful lot about the wild, they didn't know how to handle themselves very well in it. And others would hike really, really fast. They were called peak baggers. And that would be people who were really, really interested in, before they die, bagging enough mountain peaks to be proud. Basically, I hiked up this mountain and I did this peak, and they keep a logbook. And this is a real thing. This is very actually real. Lots of people do this, and lots of people go through life this way. So keep that in mind. I'm making a real point here. But they would go, and they were peak baggers. They're like, oh, there's a mountain peak. I'm going to go figure out what the name of it is. I'm going to figure out the route up it, and I'm going to just march my butt right straight up to that peak, and I'm going to check it off my list. Kind of like a birder every time they see a new bird species. But what I taught them was what I was taught, which was I could find and have much more fulfillment in the first mile. And I could just go, in a whole day, I could just go a couple of miles and see more, do more, experience more than those people who would do 30 miles in a day and bag 2 or 3 peaks. So those were the people that I inherited. I had to teach them how to track mountain lions and bears and all that kind of stuff out there. And, we'd find kills, we'd find deer kills, and I would backtrack everything. And that's where my one course over the years, Backtrack SEO, came from. In fact, that's where my whole internet career came from. Bear with me. So I'm out there in the wild. I'm in the furthest places in the lower 48 states from a paved road that you can possibly get in miles. There's one place that's about 24 miles from a paved road. That might surprise you that that's the furthest distance from a paved road that you can possibly get in the lower 48, not including, of course, Alaska, from a paved road is 24 miles. And that's in the Gila Wilderness area in the southwest portion of New Mexico. So I'm out there teaching people how to see things that they've been flying by all their lives. And I would show them bear sign. A bear would stop, and we call them signpost trees, where it was at the edge of 1 or 2 territories, and the bears in those territories would visit these signpost trees and scratch their backs on them. You guys have probably all seen that on a Discovery Channel wildlife episode or whatever. And when they do that, of course, they leave a sign. If you're not walking too fast, if you're not with your blinders on, just trying to bag the next peak. So I would slow people down. It was agonizing for them, agonizing. And they were like, God, we're wasting time. I'd usually be 15 miles down the trail by now. I'd already have eaten, my power bar, got more energy, and we'd be halfway to that mountain by now. And so they're all thinking that. And by the end of the day, they have completely transformed. They sit around the campfire going, I cannot believe what you showed us in like a mile and a half. And that we stayed generally in that area for the whole day. I would normally do 20 miles. I'd normally do 15 miles, whatever they would, and that was their big thing. And so when I came to the internet, the number one thing that I had as an asset, because I wasn't a super mega technical person, I'd grown up with different kinds of jobs. I worked in the GIS department at University of Chicago in Illinois. I'd been around computers a lot. I'd been around the internet a lot, but not as a business thing. So in '98, when Google was born, I was born at the same exact time, same month, actually, that Google came out. I came out with my idea that I'm going to do something on the internet. And with my background of slowing people down, making them see the signs, and most importantly for me, being an excellent tracker, I can go out in the wilderness and survive with just a knife. And I can hunt, and I can, I can track anything, anywhere. I can find people who are missing. So that was my life coming to the internet. How useful could that possibly be? But it actually is and has been always quite useful, because I wrote one of the first books on link building, which was power linking your way to 1 million hits. And I had figured out that the Google algorithm at the time, the first times that any of us in the world talked about algorithms, and as they pertain to search, because Google was the first real search engine that used algorithms to go around and spider the web in a very sophisticated way. Before Google was Yahoo, and they had no semblance of what we would call a search engine today. Back then, it was more of a directory. You'd just list your URL there, and they had a remedial algorithm for figuring out rankings and top tens and stuff. Nothing like what Google came out with, and of course, what Google came out with and what they have today are millions of miles apart. It's way, way more advanced now. But I figured out that the only thing that they were doing was the number of links that were pointing to your site, and I figured that out by tracking and backtracking the success of other things. So when we'd find deer kills out in the wild, we'd backtrack it and go, the stomach is out, so that must mean it's a bear, because bears really love that stomach material in a deer. Kind of gross, but it's life. Get used to it. That's real life outside of our little digital worlds. And so we'd figure that out, it's a bear. And we'd go all the way back to the beginning of that bear's day when he first laid eyes on that deer. We could figure it all out, like those new, TV shows like Intelligence, and people who can just look at a scene and actually see the action that's already well done, but they can go back and figure it all out. And that's what we were doing out there. I did the same exact thing on the web, and guess what? It worked. I went to the best, most successful sites on the web, and I backtracked their success. And I figured out, I reverse engineered exactly how they got to where they were. And that was my first book, Power Linking. It was all about links. If I had 1,001 links and you had 1,000 links, I would outscore you in Google. It was as simple as that. Oh, good old days. Oh, to be back to that, because I could outlink anybody right now in any market that I want. But that's, of course, what everybody started to pick up, kind of been helped along by me over the years, telling everybody, hey, that was the way to do it. And selling 50,000 copies of Power Linking didn't help. And thus started the Cold War between SEOs, people like me, and Google over the years. Until 2005 or 6, I figured out, hey, I'm going to just test Google. I'm going to start the first marketing blog on the web. And until that point, 2004, nobody in the marketing world had started a blog. Blogs were for what you had for breakfast. They were for kids to tell each other, who likes who in school. Blogs were not taken seriously, and I was like, all right, Google seems to be ranking the crap out of these things. I was reverse engineering it. I was like, these guys, these bloggers are getting tons and tons of traffic. They weren't commercial. They didn't have any ads on them or anything. And I thought, but still, what if we produced our information that way? What if we put them on blogs? So I started the Friday Traffic Report. And I did it sort of insincerely or cynically. I did it to prove Google wrong, because Google's terms of service then and are still the same now, basically, where you take care of your people, you take care of your audience, your market, and we'll take care of you in search. Don't pay attention to us. In a sense, they were saying, don't do SEO, aggressive SEO. Just take care of your people. Talk about what they want to talk about, and if you take care of them and they like your stuff, we'll put you in the top 10. And I'm like, nah, that's not going to work. No way. So I put it up mainly as a challenge to prove Google wrong, that they were indeed evil, because their big saying was don't be evil, that they're lying in their terms of service, that I couldn't possibly take care of my market, ignore Google, not do any SEO, and get ranked. And, of course, you guys all know, because we're here today, that was actually true. Google was telling the truth. And I just started taking care of my people, and I started telling all the other marketers on the web, dudes, you guys need to blog. You need to put your content on blogs. They love blog software. They love the way it's developed. They love all of these different, technical things about how blogs are constructed. And back then, that's all it was about. And so then, again, I let the cat out of the bag. Everybody figured that out. Now everybody's got a blog. Now everybody on the Internet is blogging. I wasn't telling the whole universe this. There were other people, just like with the linking thing in the beginning, we're figuring this stuff out at the same time. I'm just in the first handful of people around the world that figured all this stuff out. So I'm not actually saying that this is all because of me. But I did my fair share in telling lots and lots of people about all of these things over the years, and I kept starting membership sites and doing products that were always coming back from the edge of the Internet telling people, dudes, you guys got to see this. I would do the same thing in the wild. I would always hike ahead. and find what I was going to teach about that day. I'd find the bear sign, I'd find the scat, I'd find the tracks, I'd find all these different things, and then that was preparing my classroom. I would know what I was going to show them the next day. So I've been doing this all my life, pretty much, I figured out. And some of it I'm just figuring out right now, actually, how closely related those were. But that's the way I operated then, and it led really well to the Internet. And so successful membership sites and businesses that I've built and sold, and everything that I've done is pretty much coming back from the edge and saying, this is what's coming up next. I'm going to turn everybody on to it. And until I got, until I had a kid very recently, last 7 years, had a beautiful baby boy, have a family, and turned 45 this year, and decided, you know what, I'm not gonna do it the same way anymore. I need to figure out a different way, because I did have that all on my shoulders kind of feeling for most of my career. If this is going to work, it's all on my shoulders. And I did do JVs, but I did them in the one-dimensional way, with the one-dimensional understanding of what a joint venture is, which is you mail for me, I'll mail for you. So when we launched a new product, I'd go to my partners and say, we got to get a bunch of JVs, meaning make any promises that you can to them that we'll mail to our list, and just get as many of them to mail on this launch day or this launch week as possible. That was my entire complete understanding, which is the entire complete understanding of most people on the web today when you talk to them about joint ventures. It is when I think about joint ventures, I think of like black and white TVs. I think about the printing press. I think about newspapers. I think about all this old and dying technology, because joint venture really doesn't even come close to encapsulating what it really means that I'm doing right now, that Gina does right now, and Gina's been doing for a long, long time. Her entire business, everything has been based upon a much deeper, multi-layered, multi-dimensional understanding of what a joint venture really is and can be for your business. And so that's where I am now, because I can't tolerate working, 24 hours straight and doing launches by myself and having the whole business on my shoulders. I just can't do it anymore. And so I've been, before I met Gina this year, I was on about a 2-year sabbatical, which I happily could afford to do because of all my previous work, but I really didn't have, if you guys have been those of you who have been following me, I had kind of a blank there. There wasn't a lot coming out from Jack. I was doing a podcast and I was doing an occasional blog, series, but that was about it. And it was because I hadn't figured out yet really what I wanted to do. And it wasn't until I really started thinking differently about joint ventures, which is what Gina has helped me to do so well in the last 6 or 8 months, that I'm here today, and I'm a different person with all the skill sets that I had, but now applying everything much more smartly, much more effectively, with a lot more leverage, authority, and influence than I've ever had before, yet working far, far less than I ever had before. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Good thing that you guys recognized that you needed to be on this call today, because it's extremely important. It can change absolutely everything, and that's not hype, because after you get done with this call today, you'll see it for yourself. You'll be able to put your business in the place of the examples that we give you. Put your business there, put your face there, your name there, your business, your products, your services there, and you can see it for yourself. And that's the goal of today's call, at least for me, my biggest goal for today's call.
Well, and same here, Jack. And, Jack and I really have a very unique perspective on building businesses. One thing that we know, and we know it as well as we know our own names, is that mindset really is everything. If you get the mindset piece right, you can really mess up pretty much everything else and still have huge results. On the other hand, get the mindset piece wrong, do everything else perfectly, and you're usually left empty-handed. And with regard to joint ventures, I think mindset is even more important than in any other area of your business. Don't you agree, Jack?
Yeah, it's everything, really. And I would have, last year at this time, I would have laughed at you so hard. But my whole year has been different because of, number one, mindset. The tools and everything else, it's all details. I know this for a fact. I mean, I've lived it. And I've been the other way. I've done my business the other way for 15 solid years. And so I'm uniquely qualified to be able to say that the only big thing that really changed for me, the biggest thing that changed for me recently, was mindset. and everything else that I thought was the number 1 through 5 most important things about business online. And those were all just details, tools, tricks, tactics, strategy. That's all fine and good, and you need it, but only if you've got your mindset right in the first place. It really is that big, and it's just amazing to me. And I'm talking to myself a year ago. I'm taking the chance that there's probably several people on this call right now who think just like I did a year ago, and I'm telling you to trust me just for a minute, because then after that minute, you will see for yourself. And then I'll never be able to convince you otherwise that I was just kidding or whatever. You'll know for sure. So just trust us for a minute on this mindset thing. Once you get your mindset straight and you understand the power of it in your own life and you see it for yourself, nobody in the world would ever be able to convince you that it's not exactly what we're saying it is.
And when it comes to joint ventures, the mindset really is about service, isn't it? It's not enough to just be positive. It's not enough to just be in the mode of, I'm going to attract success. You've got to approach joint ventures with the mindset of, I'm here to make a difference for my JV partner and for the customers we're going to touch. And because of that, I will be rewarded too. You cannot approach joint ventures from the standpoint of, I'm going to make a shitload of money from this. If you come from that place, you're not going to succeed with joint ventures for very long. Talk about that part of it, Jack, for just a little bit. Why is it so different with joint ventures?
Well, it's different. It's the same. I mean, the coming from a service area is not just serving your clients or your customers or people with really good stuff. Like a lot of people come up with schemes to make money. And, of course, you guys, lots of you have tried that. And you realize that at the end of the day, when all you have is a scheme and nothing of real value, that you can't succeed. You can't really succeed. You might be able to make some money in the short term, but not a business do you have. Not a future do you have. There's no long-term benefit in schemes, tactics, all of that kind of stuff. So eventually everybody ends up with people like me and Gina. And we teach you things like how to build a real business, how to have something that takes care of you, whether you're at your computer or, you know, working on your phone or what, that you can go on a vacation and come back and your business has not only kept going, the doors figuratively still open, but it's grown while you were gone. It's grown in your absence. And so in order to do that, what Gina says is absolutely true. It's a service kind of thing. And it's not only serving your clients and giving them really cool, useful, valuable products. It's doing the same thing with joint ventures. I can't get the attention of someone meaningful. I can get somebody who's like enamored with any part of my history. I can go out right now and people will be like, oh my gosh, Jack's asking me for a JV. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn or anything. It's just that's the way it is. When you get to a certain point, there are people you can easily land and do things where it's not even in their best interest. Exactly. Or it's more weighted in your favor than it is theirs. But then again, at the end of the day, I've done that, and that doesn't work. You have to offer something of equal value or something that even is more valuable to your JVs to get their attention, and you have to be something of value to them so that they understand that they're going to be sending their customers to something, your product, your service, your coaching, whatever it might be, and they're going to be very well taken care of, just as well taken care of as they themselves take care of their clients. That's really important to everybody now because it costs so much in time, resources, everything, the heavy lifting of getting someone just into your vortex of influence today is a lot harder than it's ever been. Just getting people to sign up. So everything has gone up in value, up in cost, as far as how hard it is to get people to be in your area of attention. Like they are paying attention to you. That's hard to do in most markets that are worth being in the first place because they're profitable. You know, lots of people flock to those, and everybody's fighting for attention. So the genuine nature that's the hardest thing to get, to be genuine, to be seen as genuine. Everybody's trying to trick that. There's only a few people that are actually doing that in any market where it's like, man, this person is totally genuine. So you're taking care of your JVs that way by giving them someone genuine to promote, and they're fine. But they're just like bloggers. Bloggers always have to have content. You have to have content all the time, if you're a news blogger especially. So you can talk about your products and services for a minute, but then everybody's heard about it, and then you've got to still have content later. So when you're doing joint ventures and you're monetizing your list, it's the same thing. What am I going to talk about tomorrow? In fact, most people look at people who have big lists to mail to and big networks of social to influence in one direction or another, to move a crowd in your direction or another direction. They think, man, there's a line a mile long of things they have to talk about. And actually, just like the writers for Huffington Post and everywhere else, they make it look easy, but they're always behind the scenes desperate for somebody of high quality to come along and offer something that they can offer their people of high quality, whether it's news, a product or service, or whatever it might be. Behind the scenes of very successful places that have the attention of lots and lots of people, they're always looking for something of super big quality to get in front of their people. And they do get bombarded all day long from all sides, from offers of really crappy stuff, really crappy news, really crappy products and services. People are just totally me, and you should promote this for me, and I'm not giving you any idea what's in it for you other than, you make 50%, which doesn't impress anybody who's in the influence sphere of the world. That's one of the details. That's not one of the things that you want to lead with when you're going after a JV. It's something more than that. So you have to be of service to everybody, your joint venture partners included in that. I think that's where you were going with that, right, Gina?
Precisely. And the other unique perspective we have is how important it is to build strategically. You hear that term all the time. In our world, what that really means is that you've got to start with the end in mind. You've got to figure out your destination, your goals, if you will, and then work your way backward from that destination to figure out what the plan will be for how to go from where you're at to where you want to be. It isn't any different when it comes to joint ventures. If you simply go out and invite a bunch of people to JV with you and you're not super clear on what your goals are, you get a lot of what I got the first few years of brokering joint ventures. My clients didn't have goals and objectives. They wanted to make a lot of money. They wanted to sell a lot of stuff. That was it. If that's how you approach joint ventures, more than likely you're going to get a lot of nothing, just like my clients were getting when I was very first brokering. You just can't approach it that way. The more specific you can be in knowing what your goals are, what your destination is, the easier it will be for you to land the right JV partners for the right joint ventures. And the third thing we know is leverage really is the key. My students call me Dr.Gina or the Oracle because I understand leverage at such a deep level. And I think that's part of why Jack and I are loving working together, is Jack gets leverage the way I get leverage. And that is very rare. What the heck is this leverage thing we keep talking about, Jack?
Well, actually, to add on to that is something that I could have easily said about you. It's almost creepy, the things that you do, where I think on the surface, wow, this is really great, this little thing that you organize between us and so. And then you'll say, but look at deeper. But look at this. And the things that I took on a superficial level as being great, it's always deeper, and she's always thinking 1 or 2 or 3 steps ahead. And it's been freaking me out for the last couple of months especially. It's just like, crap, this is awesome. And then she's like, but that's not it. That's not even the biggest thing. Look here, look here, look here. And that's the whole purpose of today's call, is to, so I can back you up on that big time. But leverage is everything. It's some people could call it, and some people do quite a bit, call it co-creation. And it is that a lot of us have realized that we can't do the things that we imagine, like Richard Branson built Virgin and that whole empire by himself. A lot of people who are really novice to business and novice to all of this stuff think that way. They think that these people built everything. They think that Sergey and Larry built Google. And while these guys are the core and the foundation of their companies, and that they built the philosophy and they built a lot of the introductory stuff, they immediately, as they became more successful, became less of the people behind the total success of a company and more of someone who relied on leverage. Leverage is everything. When you want to do something really big, there's only so much you can do. A lot of times we'll go around the internet and we'll look at opportunities, or we'll look at investment things or whatever, and we'll set up a, I'm going to sell an ebook kind of thing. Selling an ebook only has a very strong glass ceiling, after which you cannot go if that is your whole business. So while we may, argue over which thing is more profitable within the glass ceiling of what I can do by myself, everybody hits that ceiling and nobody goes beyond it without leverage. So I became quickly disenchanted with the things that I could do on my own. A lot of people thought they were really impressive. One sale we did in 2008 brought in $750,000 in sales, almost all profit, in 24 hours. But that was it. That was the epitome. I'd never done that again by myself without leverage. That was without leverage. The biggest thing that I could ever do in my career was a day of sales that was $750,000. That was it. That was big. I mean, that's bumping my head right up against the ceiling. But that's all the further I could ever go and have ever gone without leverage. Now, add leverage to it. Leverage, what is that? I use other people's resources, other people's stuff. I make them a deal that they cannot refuse. What I call in my book, I bend the web in my favor. I bend the web to my will. I bend the situation around my business to the exact scenario that I need it to be for me to go to a level that I could never, ever do by myself or with a small crew of me, partners, and staff all by ourselves. And that's really what I'm chasing now, and it's happening left and right now. That's all I focus on. I don't think about ebooks and little products here and there, or little, coaching things for, $5,000 a month or whatever. That stuff is just nothing to me now. And as I stopped focusing on that, going back to mindset, that's all I focused on for 15 years. Did pretty damn well for 15 years. Did some really big stuff, but only got so far, and now I can't work like I used to. I will not. I refuse. So I have to have something else, and I use leverage. And it is wonderful. I'm doing bigger things than I used to when I had all that energy, no kid, no family, all that kind of stuff. I'm doing way bigger things than that, and then I'm doing way bigger things yet again. It's just crazy. So leverage is absolutely everything. And what it does is it eliminates things like, let's take your day. You get all these shiny things in your email box. Somebody's talking about SEO. Another person's talking about Facebook. Another person's talking about Google Plus and list building and link building and all these different little separate tactics. Imagine a day where you don't think about any of that stuff, because all you're thinking on that day is joint ventures and leverage. Because all of that stuff fills in. You don't have to buy courses on SEO. You don't have to buy courses and do all of this stuff. Most of the stuff that everybody on this call is doing right now, if you spend most of your time talking about and thinking about leverage. Because all of that fills in. I'll get all the links in the world that I'll ever need if I use leverage. I won't have to go out and get a single one by myself on my own manually. I'll get all the followers on social media that I'll ever need, and I'll never have to go out and get them by myself, one by one, manually, like everybody does. This world that everybody's living in right now, online, when you go out and you go to places like, blogs, free blogs, and they'll teach you how to do all this stuff. They're teaching you a whole bunch of stuff that keeps you too busy to understand and use and implement the power of leverage. If you continue to do what you're doing now, and you don't implement leverage starting today and start to really try hard to understand this, and this concept and what it means, because you might look at it right now and it's just a word, but when I look at it, when Gina looks at it, it is everything. It's what we orbit around constantly every single day. So me and Gina, follow us for the next week. Here's a big takeaway from being here today, and you should be able to get a lot out of this. Find out how much me and Gina on Google Plus share, and then try to figure out how we have multi-million-dollar businesses. Because we're not sharing like everybody says you're supposed to. Conventional wisdom says you've got to be out there all day, every day on social. You've got to. And you can't do anything else. And you've got to, and go, go, go. And that sounds great to people with no kids, haven't turned 45, and want a life along with their business. That's great for all those people, but eventually everybody turns 45, has kids, or has something that they want to do in their life that's other than their business, and they end up going, wait a minute, Gina, Jack, people like them are not doing, you can see it right on the surface. We're not trying to hide it. We're not doing the things that everybody says that you have to do. All of that busy work, all of that manual labor, all of that stuff, yet we have bigger businesses than you do. How the heck is that possible? What are they doing different? Today is why you're learning that right now. Number 3, leverage. It's not just the key. I don't know how to make it any more. I need to hype this so much because I want people to understand that it is everything, that all the stuff that you do are very much the stuff that you do other than taking care of your clients, fulfilling your products. Other than that, that most of the things left in that pile are a waste of your time. So if you guys think you're going to go running out to Hootsuite after this so you can go catch up on your social, you didn't get what I'm just saying. You're not paying attention. And you need to understand, you need to pay attention that all of the people that we'll bring up as examples, all of that kind of stuff, they're all using leverage. And you can go out to their social, you can go get on their list and find out what they mail and try to add it up. The math won't work. It won't work. It's like, wait, even if he sold 100,000 units of this thing he just mailed, he told me his business is this big, and that doesn't add up. He's doing something else. There's something else. And what I'm telling you guys right now is that something else is leverage. Leverage, authority, influence, they all go together, but leverage is the best way to put it. And so you could transpose over all of the times that we mentioned joint ventures, you can transpose leverage on that, right on it. Every time we say joint ventures, we're talking about leverage. And it's not just in the joint venture area. Leverage can be used in millions of different ways. And it's a delight and it's fun to be in the world where every minute of my day or close to it is spent thinking about how I can apply leverage to get where I want to go, rather than thinking all day long, how am I going to build this funnel or this landing page or this copy, or, we have to think about details, of course. We have to think about the tools of the trade. But just like mindset, unless you get the idea that leverage is what guides you after you've got your mindset straight, leverage is how you really implement everything, and everything else is just details, the funnel will come, the copy will come, the checkout process will come, your shopping cart setup will come. All of that will come. But these 3 things that we're looking at now they come before that, all of that. And once they do, the rest of the stuff fills it in. So you will be number 1 in search. You will be the best seller on Amazon. You'll be all of those things, but not for the reasons that you've been taught that you will. Those people are out there making money, selling stuff to people like you who want to show you how to do a tactic, and you're asking for it. They can see on search that you're asking, how do I do blank? So they create products and services, but that's just because you're asking the wrong questions. They're providing what you're asking for, but you're asking the wrong questions. So in a nutshell, that's leverage.
And leverage is really created when you combine mindset, building strategically. When you put those 2 together with joint ventures, you have maximum leverage. And a really good example of leverage is something I promised to talk about on today's training, and that is my little purple book of favors. Years ago, when I first started in the JV brokering business, I didn't have anybody that I knew in the space. I came out of the day trading arena, remember? Now I'm going to go to the internet marketing space. I'm going to organize some of the biggest product launches around, and I knew no one. How am I going to figure out how to invite people? Who am I going to invite? They don't know who I am. They might know who my client was, but they certainly didn't know who I was. So I happen to love the color purple, as you can tell it to you, and I decided to go buy myself a little notebook. And in it, I was going to start recording all the favors I was going to do for people. And it's become my little purple book of favors. There are now over 30 volumes of little purple books of favors. So I started out going out looking at the names that I might need to get involved in the joint ventures I was organizing for my clients. And one by one, I found things I could do to serve them. I didn't use affiliate links to do it. I didn't even do it after I asked them about it. I just did it. And back then, we didn't have social. We had article marketing. We had forum marketing. Sometimes my favor was as simple as I wrote a really great article, and from that article sent people back to their stuff using a tracking link, but no affiliate link. And after I went out and really did the work of getting that article out there, getting it exposed, getting traffic to it, and I could see that the traffic was going back to their site, then I pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, just wanted to let you know I wrote this article, thought you might like to know I just sent you 250 extra people, I hope it's converting well. And they'd be blown away. Now I could introduce the subject I wanted to talk about, which was my client's joint venture I wanted them to get involved in. And it really didn't take that much time or effort to start building all these favors. Now, Jack, if you're going to go out and do big favors for people without expecting anything in return, what's likely to happen when you call them up and say, you know what, I need a favor today?
Yeah. Well, I mean, those favors, here's an example within your example, and that is I would go out and do interviews. I had a site called Webside Chats, and I would do little, like, fireside chats with people. I'd do interviews, and I would just be focused on them and their stuff. I went after them because my people would learn a lot from them. I had a reason for it, so I got something out of it already at that point. I got to do the interview, and I told them there has to be actionable stuff that people can take away. That's been my MO for everything I've ever done. So yes, this is a free webinar that you're on right now, and you know, and we have something coming up that I think you guys are going to really love. But whether you do or not, you're going to take something away. You should already have stuff to take away from your time, your very, very valuable time that we very much respect. So far on this. And so I would do that with interviews. I would do that with the website chats, and I just wanted to meet people. I wanted to talk to them, and there were so many great conversations going on all the time behind the scenes. I'm like, what if we recorded this stuff? And thousands of times it seems I've said, man, I wish we were recording this, when I'd be talking to somebody who had something to teach my people, to make them aware of something new. And so that was really the 98% of why I was in it. But there was 2%, and I'm not naive, and I wasn't being stupid or completely altruistic. I knew that I could build a network of people that I could go to anytime. And quite often it would happen right after the interview. Right after I stopped the interview recording, we would start talking about, man, that was really cool, wasn't it? Because there was no pressure on either of us, because I didn't set it up like that. I didn't set it up like, oh, it's all rigid, and now I'm going to expect this from you. So be real worried about that. Be real scared about what I'm getting ready to ask you for as a part of this. And none of that was set up. It was all just totally natural. We just talked and had a great time. And more often, way, way more often than not, right after that was when a joint venture would get struck of some kind, at least a commitment to get back on the phone and go, hey, let's do something together. It was all because of that conversation that we had, that we recorded, that we put out there, that people's feedback would be like really, really, really positive. Like, you guys are awesome. You should do this more. And they'd say that over and over and over again, because I'd be very careful who I picked, who I was going to leverage, who I was going to get into my circle, and I could tell by the way that they had done other things, audio recordings mainly, and that they were really good on them, and people would really respond to that. My list would really, really respond to that. So I would do that stuff, and more often than not, the joint venture would be struck, or the commitment to each other would be struck right after that recording button was hit, and we started having a great time. So it's really quite easy. It's a hell of a lot easier of a life than, you know, doing, that's just one example. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. You don't have to do interviews. It's just one. But it's, that kind of life is a hell of a lot easier to live than anything that I'd done before. And I'd done everything before. I'd done everything you guys are doing right now. I guarantee it. And nothing that I was doing is anything like this. This is way more enjoyable.
Success really starts right here, right now. It starts with you answering the questions, what will you achieve? What is your vision? And I want to bring David Sheldon into this discussion for a little bit. David is a joint venture broker. He's also one of my students, but he was a JV broker before he became a student. And David has a wealth of experience and knowledge with joint ventures. David, how important is it when you're working with a client to help them organize a joint venture that they're really clear on their vision and what they want to achieve?
Well, it's real important, Gina, but often that's not the case.
Right.
And it's hard to generalize, but I mean, everybody wants to sell more product or have their services used more. In other words, grow their business. And you hit the nail right on the head when you were talking about strategic thinking and how if we begin with the end in mind and then work our way backwards, we have a clear vision of what it is that we want. Because generally speaking, we can talk about short-term goals and long-term goals. Now, a short-term goal might be to, if we're launching a new program or just doing the sort of general business building that's usually associated with joint ventures, we have some short-term goals associated with it, whereas the long-term goals, those business building goals, growing your list, growing your customer base, whatever those long-term goals are for someone, that's where people need to understand that the joint venture process, just like anything else, is one that builds momentum, and that those long-term goals are what we're really after, but it's going to take a little bit of time to get there. I know that's kind of a long-winded answer to your question. I'm sorry.
No, that's the kind of answer that I really wanted. So when you first start working with a client who maybe doesn't have tons of experience with a joint venture, what do you want them to do? What should they be thinking about?
Well, I like to start, as you know, Gina, with asking people to tell me who they are and what they do. And very often, people don't have they don't have a clear way of articulating that in terms of what it is that they are specifically doing and who it is that they're specifically doing that for, what the benefits are to their programs or how they provide their services. So I like to begin by asking folks that question and then to focus in on what you call the customer. And to ask someone to think about who is that, and not just kind of in general terms, but in very specific terms, what I call egoic labels, so that we're not just talking about general categories of people, but very specific ways, so that if I'm sending a message out to you, and I'm using that language and those terms, you're immediately going to pick up on that and go, hey, that's me, and now you're going to start paying attention, kind of like Jack was talking about with just the huge amount of stuff that's out there right now vying for people's attention. When we can speak directly to that person with some sort of egoic label and they go, yes, that's me. I'm a single mom who is also a business owner who is looking for help with this problem, then we are really tapping into somebody.
And how much easier does it make it when you go to your JV partner prospect after you've got this really clear picture of your client, somebody who wants a joint venture? You know who they are, what they're all about, the kind of clients they serve, and the ways in which they serve them. Is it easier to go to the JV partner and get a yes at that point?
Well, it makes all the difference in the world, because going back to some of the things that you and Jack have been talking about and providing real value to someone else, and most importantly, what you call their customers, or what I would call their community. So that if I know, if I'm going to go out and talk to somebody about you, Gina, or Directions University, or whatever it is, I want to be able to speak to somebody very concisely, but also in an interesting and compelling way too, say, hey, you know, this is what we do, and this is who we are, and this is how we can complement what you're doing. This is how what we do enhances what you are doing, so that together we have much greater synergy. It kind of goes back to that concept of leverage also.
Leverage, yes. I was just going to say that. It sure does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Would you ever go to a prospective JV partner and say, hi, I'm David. I've got this great client who wants you to do a webinar with them. When can we book it?
Well, chances are you're going to have a hard time getting someone to pay attention to you because, again, going back to what Jack said, you know, people are very busy, and especially for the type of people, the type of potential JV partners that y'all are talking about, these people are successful, they're busy, they're already doing this sort of thing. They're going to want to know specifically, if I've got a program, if I've got a webinar that I do, let's say that it's called magnetizing money, okay, and I've got this, and it's an introduction to my program that's all about mindset and beliefs about what money is and how you earn money and so forth, and somebody goes, wow, that's just the sort of thing that my students or that my community, this is what they need, because this is not something that I'm talking about, it's not something that I teach, and this is going to make a big difference in the results that my people are getting.
That's awesome, David. Thank you so much for sharing that. And, you know, before we get into more about joint ventures, we should really mention, what is a JV broker again, David?
I beg your pardon, ma'am, were you speaking to me?
Yeah, what is a JV broker?
Oh, gosh, well, you hear that term thrown around a lot. Going back to a basic definition, I guess, a JV broker is someone who earns a retainer or a commission or both from putting together a joint venture deal.
So if I were just getting started in my business and I wanted joint ventures, you mean I could actually get a JV broker to help me with that?
Sure.
Would that cost me a huge sum of money up front? I'm just getting started. I'm not making that much money yet.
Well, as I said, some brokers work on a commission-only basis. Some brokers require a small retainer, especially, you know, going back to that startup process, Gina, as you know.
Yep.
Especially if you're going to start to work with somebody who really hasn't been doing joint ventures, who really doesn't have much of a contact list, people that they've done things with before and so forth, where you're really kind of starting from scratch, there's going to be some research involved, where somebody's going to need to spend some time on the internet or, you know, in other ways. Once we've defined some of those key parameters that we were talking about with the client, we know what the client does and who the client serves, and we've got a clear picture of that. Now we can start thinking about, okay, well, what kinds of businesses, what kinds of people are going to complement this person, and then start doing a search accordingly. And you know, typically that might involve putting together you know, several hundred names of people and sending out an introductory email, letting people know, you know, this is who we are and this is what we're looking to do. Would you be interested in exploring the possibility of a joint venture? But always, as you know, as we've talked about, Gina, always and what you teach also, that service mentality. I always ask first, how can we be of service to you? How can we help you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Gina, I was just gonna. That reminded me. There's a lot of times the words joint venture don't come up. Like, for the purposes of training, so that you guys understand what we're talking about here. You know, like David just said, joint venture an awful lot, but in the real world, when we're doing this stuff, we're not saying those words. We're not coming out and saying, "Hey, would you like to joint venture?" We're basically saying, and I've watched this happen tons and tons of times, just with Gina, and I've done it before too, where that phrase never comes up. It's more, hey, there's this thing. You got to check this out. I was just talking to this guy. And, you know, and that's how the conversations actually happen. They end up being defined as joint ventures, but we don't go walking around and saying, hey, you know, joint venture with me. You know, and you can also call a joint venture or a JV broker a leverage broker or a power broker, because that's exactly what you're doing. And when you get to the point where you would approach a joint venture broker, you can be prepared to the point, and you can have all your ducks in a row with your leverage points and everything else, that there's such a win-win for that broker that there wouldn't even need to be an upfront fee. What David's talking about, I think, is that people approaching him out of the blue that he doesn't know very well and doesn't, and that's not even a problem either, because it would be a problem for everybody starting up, that you would be coming out of the blue unknown to the person that you're approaching as a joint venture broker. But there are ways to rapidly build rapport. And the number one thing, once somebody's had some success, they understand the word leverage differently than everybody else who's outside that, who has yet to achieve success. They understand what the word leverage really, truly, deeply, multidimensionally means. And they've got it. They've got leverage, and they want more. So if you can come into a situation, whether it's a JV broker or a potential JV partner, and offer them the thing they desire the most, which is before the money, before anything else, but more leverage, because leverage is money. Leverage means exponential amounts more money possible coming in than just you paying them 50% of whatever, or as a broker 10% to broker deals for them. That stuff really isn't as meaningful to them as you guys might assume. It wasn't. I thought it was everything, and that's how I tried to do joint ventures for a long time, is just say, hey, we'll give you, and people who don't have leverage, don't have assets, they'll go, okay, I'm going to give my product away. I'm going to give 99% commission just so I can get buyers on my list and all of that stuff. That's the only thing they do, because they have no concept of leverage. You never give 99% away, or you have a darn good reason for doing it, which is what most people don't. They just don't. So, if you come into these relationships, and they can be leverage brokers, joint venture brokers, power brokers, all of them are the same kind of people where you've got assets beyond just the product that you're offering, and you think of the whole situation as throwing a party for certain people, what would you have on the, what sort of party favors would you have if they were coming over to your house? How would you set everything up? How would you decorate everything? How would you make it all about them and show them the one most important thing that everybody is after? After they've achieved success, there's a little club of people on the planet that understand that success comes with leverage, and that they get a taste of it and they want more of it. So if you can come to a new deal with somebody and offer them the number one thing, not money, not anything else, but offer them leverage, like, this would be really good for your business. This kind of thing would really, and it has to be true. You can't just be like a car salesman and go, hey, how about, if I said you could make $1 million this year, would you be interested? And all that superficial BS that people are all out there floating around now. The very special kind of relationships that are created by people who have something really real to offer. So a lot of this stuff is research on our part to go out, and when we talk to somebody, especially for the first time, to blow their minds, because they're not expecting what they get 99% of the day, which is just superficial BS stuff from people. Hey, partner with me, JV with me, all this stuff, and it doesn't really, it's just a bunch of words. People have learned the language, but they don't know anything about, the emotions behind the language and the actual deals and the things that are the most important push points for any given situation that they're in, or the people that they're talking to.
And Trish just brought up a really good question. Trish just asked, when starting out, I can be clear about a vision, but when it's only a vision and there's no track record, even if I offer a prospective JV partner the thing they want the most, why would they have the confidence that I can provide it? And that's an awesome question, Trish, and that really brings up another term, and it's a term I use often. I actually use it a lot more frequently than I use the term joint venture, and that term is strategic alliance. DU was built with about a dozen total strategic alliances. In my book, a strategic alliance differs from a joint venture in one teeny tiny little aspect. Most true joint ventures are things that happen once or for a very short period of time, at least in the online world. A strategic alliance is something that happens on an ongoing basis. Jack and I working together to really grow DU is an example of a strategic alliance. Wouldn't you agree, Jack?
Yep, definitely.
And the way that DU was built was really based on this idea of a strategic alliance. So here's what you can do, Trish. If you're just getting started, one of the first things you really want and need for your business is a low-end membership site. It becomes something that can generate leads for everything else that you've got to sell. My recommendation is you keep it somewhere between 15 and 20 bucks a month, maybe as high as $27 or $37 a month. Really low end here. It's your lead generator. Put that together. Do the things you need to do with what we're going to talk about next, inbound marketing, to bring in a small number of people, just so that you've got people that you can be creating content for and with. Now you've got an asset that's super easy to get joint ventures with. Rather than going to people and saying, hey, I know you don't know me, I'd like you to do this webinar to promote my stuff, or even, hey, could you do a webinar to promote my new membership site, or even, could you do a mailing to promote my new membership site? Don't go there at all. Go to someone that really has your audience, that really has the right people, and say, boy, you know, I really love what you're doing with whatever their product is. In fact, I love it so much, I'd really like to help you sell more of it. Here's what I'd like to do. I have this great little membership site over here. Normally retails for $19.95 a month, let's say. People in it get these different benefits. I'd like to allow your buyers, the people that buy your product, to get for free 1 month or 3 months of my membership site, just to add even more value to your customers when they buy your stuff. And when we do that, we're going to set them up as customers using your affiliate link. So now not only do you get a chance to serve your customers even better than you are serving them now, but you'll be able to make 50% commission on a recurring basis from when they start their paid subscription at the end of this bonus. Jack, are they going to say no to that?
I haven't seen very many people do it. And if you approach the right people, you know who you're approaching. You know, it's not a secret that you have a lot of intel. And people in the scenario that Trish set up for us say, you know, I don't have anything but a vision. But the thing is, you should never be in that situation forever. If you recognize that what I have is a vision, then you certainly do have to do a little bit more work and come to a person with far more assets than just that. You never actually go to anybody with just a vision. The lazy man's way, the one-dimensional way of doing something is going to Kickstarter and saying, hey, we got this great idea. And, you know, and it's just a real big fad right now, and everybody thinks it's just so awesome. You go start a Kickstarter campaign, and you can actually raise money with nothing but vapor. But it's not really how things are actually done, and it's a fad. It truly is a fad. The Kickstarter thing will not be here forever. People are already growing extraordinarily tired of everybody having a Kickstarter thing and sending money in for ideas. You know, and real joint venture people, real leverage people come to the table with much, much more than just these things, these ideas and things. So along with what Gina said about the membership site and everything else is, remember when I was talking earlier about the example of doing interviews, and at the end of those interviews, if they go really well, you stop the record button and you're talking with the other person. It's like, we should really do something together. And you say, you know, you're right. And then you guys have to go. Of course, you got to be respectful of their time. Nothing seriously concrete usually gets done right there. But you've got somebody to bring to the table on a future deal. Now, you've got this person that you've done some work with, and it's easy to get fairly significant, if not really, really significant people, movers and shakers, influences in your market, even if you have nothing but an idea, to do something like, I'm going to help you promote. Like Gina said, I'm going to help sell your product. In this case, I'm going to help you promote your name, your brand, by doing an interview and doing all the work to get it out there so everybody hears it, everybody watches it, listens to it, whatever. And to them, it's like spending an hour or 30 minutes to get a whole bunch of free promotion. That's why big people usually say yes to the right kind of offer from somebody they've never heard of before. So you get a few of those people lined up. Let's say you've done 5 of those things, and there's a lot of other ways to do it. I'm just using the interview thing as an example. So, and at the end of most of those, if not all of those, that was really great. We ought to do something together. Now you've isolated today. You've got 5 of those people in your back pocket. They want to do something. They're impressed with you. They're surprised at how well that went, because most of those things people have heard me or somebody like me say, you need to do this, but they sucked at it. and you didn't. You were really good at it because you thought about everything ahead of time, and you took really good care of them, and they appreciate that. It's a surprising pattern interruption in their life that really made them go at the end of that, sincerely, we need to do something together. You got 5 of those people who've said we need to do something in the future, and you now today you target this new possible joint venture partner. Now you have 5 extremely significant assets and an idea and a vision. All of that packaged together, you go to that person and say, you know, I was just, and Gina does this, she's the master at it. She says her little black book, she's got one, but it's also all in her head. And at any moment, she's really good at coming up with, you know, I know this guy. And this guy is going to be one of the 5 people that said we should do something in the future. And he really understands what it is in your business that could blah, 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 blah. And that's how deals are made. You bring these assets together. So that's why I always call joint venture brokers also power brokers, leverage brokers. You're bringing leverage in its rawest, most powerful form to the table on a deal like that. And it has nothing to do with you other than your ability to see that it is an extraordinary, valuable, and big thing that you were able to organize that. That has value in and of itself. Just like a product, just like a service, just like anything else, it has an intrinsic funk factor of value. You're bringing people together. And a lot of the deals that Gina does and that I do are just bringing people together. I know this guy over here, I know this gal over here, and together, you guys, I could get her to say this, I could get her to and it's all genuine. It's not, you know, manipulating people or anything like that. It's very genuinely networking people together, networking areas of leverage points together to get where you need to go personally as well, because you're going to be a part of all of that. When you say this person over here would be really, you should talk to them, and then what we could do is, and then you come up with this plan, and it gets to be, it may sound complicated right now, but it is the way that, you know, everything has worked. When we invented language and we started talking about things, and Fag, the caveman over here, had fire and you didn't, and you needed fire to stay warm, that's when we started scheming about ways that we could get Fag to give us fire. We could go over there and knock him on the head and steal it, and that's the scam kind of megaphone marketing that people do now. That doesn't last. It, you know, sometimes lands you in jail. It's, you know, people learn big life lessons from doing that kind of marketing. Or you can go, I've got this deer. I can give Fag some deer for some fire and make a deal. And deals have been made over and over billions of times throughout history till we get to today. And it's powerful stuff. And what I think a lot of people fail at is thinking that there's any value in what I just said. I can't do that. There's no value. I'm not bringing anything to the table. All I have is an idea and a connection to another person. I say that you have the most value to bring to anybody when you have that kind of scenario. I have an idea and a powerful person that I can go and offer them that leverage from that other person. I don't have any personal leverage right now. I'm brand new. But I know this other person who at the end of the interview, and I've got 4 more just right behind them, that can offer their leverage. I see opportunities. That's a value. When you see opportunities and ways for people to work together, you can use their leverage and offer it to someone else, and then all of a sudden, you've got a package that's really, really powerful. Gina does this all day, every day, and it works like gangbusters. It's just awesome. It never fails, really, unless the person that we approached too hastily and didn't know everything about that person that would indicate they're not really ready for that kind of a deal. I mean, this can fail all the time if you're approaching the wrong people.
Very true. And, you know, marketing is a lot like hunting. And I found this quote the other day, and I was like, oh, my goodness, I have got to show this with you guys, especially with Jack and his background, right? Marketing really is a lot like hunting. And in this particular quote, it's traditional marketers looking to garner interest from new potential customers are like lions hunting in the jungle for elephants. The elephants used to be in the jungle in the 80s and the 90s when they learned their trade, but they don't seem to be there anymore. In fact, all of the elephants have migrated to the watering holes on the savannah, in other words, the internet, instead of the offline world. So rather than continuing to hunt in the jungle, this particular person is recommending setting up shop at the watering hole or turning your website into its own watering hole. And that really is what joint ventures allow you to do. You talked about the epitome of leverage. If all the elephants are no longer there in the jungle, they've all migrated to the savannah, and the lions are still looking for them in the jungle, the lions aren't ever going to get those elephants. So if you can go out and find the JV partner that already has your customers and set up shop with him or her, it's just like you're setting up shop at the watering hole, right, Jack?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what you want to be doing in your business. You know, inbound marketing or marketing as a whole is also kind of like dating. When you're out there dating, I use this example all the time. You don't ask somebody to marry you on the first date. People kind of get freaked out when they do that, right? You need to get to know one another first. You need to introduce some friends, then introduce them to families. And maybe, you know, months from now, maybe even a couple of years from now, you get around to the question of marriage. Well, joint ventures are the key to being able to go from that blind date all the way up to the top of getting married, all in one fell swoop, because you're not going out there to cold people who don't know you, going on a blind date with them. What you're really doing is you're going to the JV partner who's already advanced their relationship with the customer up to like higher levels, much closer to the level of marriage. And now the JV partner is getting that person to take the next step. You're not doing it on your own. You get to shortchange all those other levels of the dating relationship in one fell swoop when you use joint ventures. Talk about leverage. Oh my gosh. In the real world, in the dating relationship, that could cut off years of having to woo somebody and go through all of the games of dating, etc. And you really get to do that with joint ventures. That, to me, is so powerful, right, Jack?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very cool. And you know, I was just thinking while you were saying that very, very quickly. I know we're over time, but this is one of those rare epic days where I guess me and Gina feel very, very sherry today. And I hope that you understand that what we're sharing is like really what works for us and what works for lots and lots of people. We didn't invent a lot of this stuff. You know, it's just once you realize that this is the way the entire world works, that you know, it's just as sure as the moon revolves around the earth and we revolve around the sun. It's just as real and literal as that this is the way it works. You start looking at marketing and your place on the internet, if you have a completely internet business or a combo real world brick and mortar and online business. When you realize this, it's like, holy crap, the rest of the world does not. The rest of the world kind of is like in the matrix and they're unaware of how things actually work. That's why you see so many people get so excited about tactics and schemes because they feel like that's the only thing out there. And then when you get past the understanding of what we've talked about thus far and the rest of this call, you start to look at the world in a completely different way. And you're one of the very, very few people on the planet in history that have figured it out. And we're talking the likes of Henry Ford and the industrialists, the big movers and shakers all the way up to today with Branson and Microsoft and Steve Jobs and all these people, these really huge people have all understood what we're talking about here. They got past that level of understanding. We're able to look back at the rest of the planet as if they're just looking from space and realize that the rest of the planet is utterly clueless about this stuff. So how does that help you? Just knowing something that everybody else doesn't know, it doesn't really help you unless you put it into action. But that's what we're showing you here is once you understand that, it's really like child's play because other people are, you know, like walking up to Thag for the first time and he's never seen fire before. Thag the caveman. Think about how big his eyes got when he saw that and you had fire on the end of a stick. You are learning how to put fire on the end of a stick and blow people's minds. In this case, to make joint venture deals you never imagined you could ever make before. I'm too small. All I have is a vision. I'm not going to be able to impress this person, get their attention. You're learning how that's actually going to happen. You're going to have that little stick with the fire on the end of it. You're going to blow their mind. What the heck is that? I can cook meat with this. That's leverage to Thag. He doesn't have to eat raw meat anymore. He can cook it and then digest it better. And that was a really crucial point in history. And you guys can go around and do these kinds of things on a daily basis, weekly, monthly basis. And that kind of leverage, that kind of power builds huge businesses. It builds very, very big, successful businesses, not this little trinket stuff that we play with when we're first starting out online.
Well, and Jack and I see so many people out there thinking social media and blogging are the key to their success in the future. But, you know, when it comes to things like blogging and social media, they're a lot like jogging. They require consistent, long-term effort, not short sprints of intense activity. You'll see a lot better results when you're blogging much more frequently, every day, every other day, than when you're blogging, say, every 2 weeks, then stopping, then starting, and then you're coming back 4 months later. With joint ventures, you really can get results with short sprints of intense activity, can't you, Jack?
Yeah, and I'm sitting here today saying in agreement with this about blogging. But I started Blog Success. It was the first membership site to train marketers how to use blogs to, you know, leverage great rankings and joint ventures and everything else, all the great stuff that comes with everything that we've always heard about blogging. So I'm sitting here today agreeing with this statement, and you'll see on my blog, I live it. I'm not kidding. I'm not doing that sink or swim kind of publish every day kind of blogging anymore. Yet my business is 10 times bigger than it's ever been. So what's happening? That's what we're telling you right now. That's joint venture stuff, leverage stuff is exactly what we're doing to replace that. That in short spurts, you can have your entire year's worth of income taken care of in one day from last year's income, you know, and that is really appealing. But it's also way more in reach of each and every one of you guys than you probably think it is right now. So that's the hard part for us, is to figure out how do we get you guys to just believe it. If you can just believe it, then we can show you all the really, really cool stuff that can happen, because that's the mindset part. You know, once you get past the mindset part, everything else is child's play.
Which would you rather have? Do it yourself or done for you? I went out looking for some statistics about what the top sources of traffic are these days online. And I came up with things like Facebook and Google Plus and Twitter and Yahoo and Google and all of Google, Google Plus, Google Search, etc. And that tops everything else. Everything Google tops everything else in terms of traffic. And yet the one thing that is still bigger is joint ventures. You know, joint ventures can be used for any asset your business needs. You can expand brand awareness using joint ventures. Joint ventures attract more clients due to increased brand awareness among the target demographics that are being pursued more than anything else out there, especially because it's shortening that dating relationship that needs to be there. You can use joint ventures to increase market capabilities. You can develop new sales pipelines with joint ventures. And Matthew asked a question a little while ago that I want to touch on here for just a minute. Let me pull it back up. Matthew asked, how can I use web-based JVs to recruit a network of healthcare, legal, and insurance or financial professionals who agree to buy their insurance and financial products from an insurance agency that is committed to them, that is committed to giving them stock options and helping them retire on $200,000 per year tax-free? I don't know if I understand exactly what you're asking here. Are you looking for the healthcare, legal, insurance, and financial professionals as potential customers? If you are, then maybe this is an example that we can use here. All you need to figure out is who already has healthcare professionals, legal professionals, insurance, financial professionals already on their customer list, their customers and network builders. Okay, I think I do understand what you're asking. And are you limited to any particular state, Matthew? No. Oh my goodness. So that's even better. There are so many people that already have healthcare professionals on their list, legal professionals on their list, insurance and financial professionals on their list. And to be able to go to the people that already have those lists, that already have those people as customers, it could be as easy as the example I gave Trish earlier. Online, we really are in an information age. People go out to the internet not looking to buy stuff, but looking for information. And that often comes through things like membership sites. If you were able to build a small membership site that through which you could really work with healthcare professionals, legal professionals, insurance and financial professionals to help them better understand the strategy that you're talking about, do it at a very low price point, 20 to 27 bucks a month kind of thing, so that you could go to the people that have healthcare professionals on their list, legal professionals on their list, insurance and financial professionals, and allow them to give either 1 month or 3 months of this membership away as a bonus when they sell whatever they're already selling to those people. You'd have all those people in front of you in your membership site. And now you could sell them on anything else you want to do, couldn't you, Jack?
Yep. Yeah.
What you're really doing with joint ventures is you're selling through trusted relationships. You're taking these companies that already have the relationships with the customers that you want, and you're borrowing their trusted relationships with the customers so that you can then build the trusted relationship for yourself as well. You know, it's a lot like dentists who recommend a specific kind of toothbrush, right? A dentist is recommending that toothbrush, and that's really an example of a joint venture. It's hard to ignore the advice if a person is confident that the dentist is looking out for the health regardless of any referral fee they might have gotten because of the toothbrush. And that kind of thing happens every single day. And it happens in the offline world. Why not use it in the online world too? I mean, it really can be that simple. I also went out looking for information on the success of joint ventures. And I got to tell you guys, I was so blown away at how little information and statistics there are about online joint ventures. Yet when I went out doing that research, if we look at any major corporation, big corporations like Apple, like Google, for example, like Motorola, like Microsoft, the average big corporation has over 150 active joint ventures going on at any one time. And there are tons of statistics out there about those big corporate joint ventures. And yet there are absolutely no statistics about online joint ventures. Why not?
It goes
Any ideas?
Oh God, it goes perfectly with what I said before. It is like it's like the world before everybody got to see the movie The Secret. Before The Secret, nobody had ever heard of the stuff that was in it. Or, you know, I mean, we've read Napoleon Hill and all of that kind of stuff. So there were some things, some indicators, but on a massive scale, nothing. It was an underground thing, and it stays sort of an underground thing. It still hasn't, I don't think, hit a critical mass of understanding and application by certainly the majority of the planet. So this is something that fits with my earlier analogy, which is that people, very, very, very few, there's a lot of successful people, and out of all of those successful people, a tiny percentage of them go on to do extraordinarily humongous things. And not a single one of them was able to accomplish that without this secret, which is, I don't know why, I don't think that anybody has a meeting saying, let's suppress information on joint ventures for the little guy. Let's only make it apparent to people when Motorola and Google get together, or things like that. And even then, people will look right at it and not see what they really should be seeing. Like, that could apply to my business. It's only, oh, Motorola and Google do that. Of course, they're bazillionaires, and there's something they've got, you probably don't even think about it that hard. You just look at it, you see it, and you walk away. Totally missing the biggest lesson there is in business and life and success in general throughout history. And I don't know, there's no meeting that I've ever been to where everybody said, keep this a secret. Don't tell anybody. But it is a ginormous secret out of default that people don't talk about it. But when they get past a certain level and you come to them and interview them and say, what was your biggest secret to success? It'll have something to do with, I met this person. Everything changed when I went and did something with this guy or this gal, or it's every single time. It's 100% of the time people say that. It's never, well, I just worked a little bit harder and I made $10 billion extra dollars. Never, ever has that ever happened. Said by no one ever. So I don't know why this is a secret, but it is. And when you said that, it totally made sense to me. You can't find any stats on it. Probably because, one, people are too busy doing that. And two, if you have a market that there's only like 2% of the demographic who it appeals to, who understand it ever, then it's not a very good market to start, making products out of your statistics and findings and studies, to go send people out to do studies on things that you can only sell to a tiny, tiny percentage of a fraction of a market. Because that tiny percentage of a fraction of a market are the only people who ever get exposed to what we're talking about today and then wrap their minds around it and apply it. Everybody here can probably understand where we've come so far in this, but there's still going to be a smaller percentage of you who actually wrap your mind around it and apply it. And that's a tiny market. Why would I come up with a research study to sell people the statistics? That's where all of these studies come from. Somebody's got to make money putting that stuff together. Otherwise, why do it? And I think that's probably why, is there's just so few people who get this stuff. But everybody who has gotten it and gone on to make really, really huge companies out of it, or just a successful living for themselves, replace their jobs with it, or out there too busy doing it to come back and brag about anything. Yeah, you can go interview any of them you want. Ask them what was the single greatest turning point for your business. And it will have something to do with leverage and joint ventures, 100% of the time. Something so important that could be that hidden.
I also went out looking for what were the key factors that made joint ventures successful when they were used. And boy, was that an interesting investigation. I was expecting to see that most of the successful joint ventures were done between parties that knew one another. Not at all the case. 47% of the joint ventures that have succeeded because someone actively went out searching for a joint venture partner and found them. They did not already have a pre-existing relationship with the company they joint ventured with. Almost half. Another group, 28%, were people who did have existing relationships. But that's a quarter. That's not that big. And the other quarter was people who got approached by other JV partners first who didn't already have a pre-existing relationship with them. So for those of you just getting started who don't have a lot of knowledge about prospective JV partners, this should be really comforting to you. You don't need to have the relationships right this minute. What you do need is the knowledge of how to go out and find the right JV partner. What makes someone an ideal JV partner? If you haven't already started planning out in your business who is your ideal customer, you need to. And the minute you've defined who is your ideal customer, go and define who is your ideal JV partner. And be as specific in planning out who is your ideal JV partner as you are in planning out who is your ideal customer. Because that gives you the ultimate when it comes to leverage. JV success factors are kind of all over the place. The biggest piece of success is trust between the partners. Second biggest piece of successful JVs is the partners' strategic compatibility. 18% were from communication between partners, 14% interaction between colleagues. only 9% of the successful JVs were successful because of joint ventures' formal structure. The trust and the strategic compatibility by far are the most important parts to success with joint ventures. There is no way Jack and I would have the strategic alliance that we have today if we did not wholeheartedly trust one another in every sense of it. Jack, how important is that to you? Because I know it's a big deal to me.
Well, I'm throwing a lot of my lot in with you. You know, I mean, that's really what this is about, and that's really what we're talking about, a successful strategic alliance or joint venture or whatever you'd like to call it. If it's really going to be successful, it's not going to be a superficial thing. And that's where most people approach it. Mail for me and I'll give you 50% of my product. That is highly superficial. And the only trust factor that's involved in that is what kind of affiliate tracking system are you using and will I get paid? So there's a lot of trust right there that needs to happen. I mean, I need to trust that you're tracking things properly and that I'm going to get paid for all the traffic I'm sending you. My dear, precious traffic, my people that I've worked so hard to collect and gain attention. You know, so that's the generic version. For the real alliances, for the real serious stuff, trust is everything. Because I'm throwing, you know, everything in with someone like that, everything. That you can't have, you know, the suspicion of any kind that this isn't actually as genuine as it is in those situations. And it's only when that kind of trust is there that the really, really big stuff can happen. Only big things come out of that level. It's just like, you know, how much skin do you have in the game? You hear that all the time, how much skin you got in the game. On really powerful strategic alliances or joint ventures, you have just about all your skin in the game. And that level of trust has to, of course, be there or you're a fool.
And how successful have joint ventures been in the past? Well, 52% of the 100,000 companies that were asked said that it was either better than expected or as expected. 52%. And, you know, with joint ventures, there's very little downside risk, right? Only 31% of the joint venture participants surveyed said it was worse than expected. But here's the key with joint ventures. You're not really investing anything than your time, maybe a little bit of your trust. There's no upfront capital outlay. You're not paying somebody something upfront. The downside is only happening if there are sales, other than you're out a little bit of time. So in an alliance like the one that Jack and I have, we didn't just jump in with both feet. We took baby steps. We took it slow. We did a few things together. We gained trust from one another. We did a few more things together. We gained a little bit more trust with one another. And it took us a good 6-7 months before we really got into bed with one another, so to speak, and came up with the strategic alliance that we now have. You can't just go from not knowing someone, never having heard of someone, to really doing huge deals with them that last a lifetime. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen in the real world in the dating relationship, and it doesn't happen with joint ventures either. But, you know, JVs in the end really are the key to authority, leverage, and influence. Jack, how are JVs the key to authority?
Well, you know, the authority is kind of where you start out. I always call it authority, leverage, and influence. Or I just came up with it this week, Ali. Authority, leverage, and influence. And authority is what you borrow in the beginning. Because you have no influence and you have no authority, or leverage, you have no influence and no leverage, you go out and you borrow authority. And you borrow it through things like joint ventures. And you borrow it by having people interact with you or your brand in some way, people who are pretty big, pretty important people. And you're borrowing their authority. Nobody knows you, but if you were talking to Richard Branson, if you have a picture with Richard Branson and he's doing something with your company, then I'm going to listen to you. I don't know you, but he thinks you're important. I trust him. That's borrowed authority. So you borrow authority in order to gain leverage in order to have the kind of influence where you can move anybody on the web in your market in any direction you want to profit in any way that you want to do it. So authority is where you start. How do you build authority? You basically, what is authority is, people look to you for the answers in some way, shape, or form, and you've got them. You're the expert. You're the authority. You're one of the people in the market that people look up to and go, if I was going to ask this question, I would ask Gina. She's got the authority to tell me what a joint venture is, how I should use them, and okay. So once you have that authority, you can leverage that authority. Then you can leverage yourself into a position over many, 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 many different leverage points to a position of power. When you get to the influence level, you have your own stage, and you're standing in front of your own crowd who came there to see you as the headliner, not the opening act, which you're the opening act usually when you're doing the leverage stage. In the influence stage, people are coming to you and making you brilliant offers, laying the world at your feet, anything they possibly can to get your attention so that you can point your influence in their direction. So those three things are just kind of like building blocks, starting with authority. Authority, I should have just defined and left it at that, but I can't help talking about it and then going on to leverage and influence too.
Well, they're all tied together. They really, really are. And when you're just starting out, if you really think about what we've shared with you today, you want to be using things like blogging and social media to really start out getting things put together so that you can do things like get your membership site started, get a few people in. But the minute you've got a few people in, you want to switch gears with your blogging efforts and especially with your social media efforts and really start connecting with those people that are likely to be good prospective JV partners. Our good friend Mark Harris, Jack and I are co-hosting a joint venture summit with him in March 11th through the 13th in Atlanta. He often talks about the idea of thought leadership. And thought leadership really plays a big role if you're out there using things like blogging and social media to connect with prospective JV partners. Again, we really are in an information age. And it is so much easier being in the information age to connect with prospective JV partners. Your best prospective JV partners are going to be people who have tons of information on topics that your audience is going to be interested in. Jack has been doing this brilliantly. In fact, I think I should go over to your site real quick. I'm going to go pull it up just so I can show everybody what I want to show them. Jack has been using his blogging efforts to help connect with prospective JV partners. And it is working so well for Jack. He has an article that is called the Fall 2013 Guide to Google+. No, the Fall 2013 Ultimate Guide to Google+. And I'm pulling it up so you guys can see it. And in it, Jack could have written all that he knows about Google+, and he knows a lot. So he could have written the entire Ultimate Guide to Google+ on his own. But he chose not to do that. Instead, he wrote a few little paragraphs of introduction. Then he talks about a big guy by the name of Damian Farnsworth, his best stuff on Google+. He kind of excerpts it and puts lots of links out to Damian's stuff. Then he talks to Chris Lang, another big guy on the subject. And he takes some excerpts from that, hooks up, and links over to Chris's stuff. Then he talks about Yvette Cohen and all the great stuff that she's got as the G+ go-to gal. And at the end of when he first wrote this article, that's all that was there. He then says, down at the very bottom now, way down there, that he's ending the article after just those three people at the time because of two reasons. Number one, he wanted to go outside. Number two, he wanted the people leaving comments to tell him about all the other Google+ experts that they know about in their stuff, in their videos, etc. And he says you'll be part of a viral post that will get a lot of traffic. You might even get Google+ famous. So people start commenting on it. Today, there are now 87 comments. And as people were commenting on it, they were telling Jack about all these other great resources. And that's why you see updated, 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 and everything after YEFAT got added after the article was published. Jack, how many of these people for you are prospective JV partners?
All of them, including someone who's got 450,000 people who have circled them that I picked up later.
I just passed her.
Yana Nystrom.
Where did I see her stuff?
She's down below.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
Further down. I only just barely mentioned her. I said I found this really cool resource well after I had done this and updated a couple of times, and it was her list of things about Google Plus. She put together an ultimate guide. And then I found out about that because I think it was Stefan Hovnanian up above, the hover card guy. That's all I did was mention her right there, but I did it after she put my ultimate guide into her ultimate guide. And now I'm, with massive exposure and everything else, it was one of the biggest reasons that I went over 13,000 circles on Christmas Day. And it's been Christmas every day since for me and Google Plus, because I'm now averaging a huge amount of people following me, new people circling me every day. So it's going up fast, fast, fast. I went over 13,000 on Christmas Day. Now I'm at 13,600 today. So it's very, very quickly picking up steam. And it was all because of this little tiny point in this little tiny place in time, this slice of place in time where I made this ultimate guide, and then I found her guide and I put it there and I linked to her. And she noticed that, and she was impressed by that. And she wasn't impressed by me because she never heard my name before this day. But she was impressed with all the other people that are involved in this post, and knowing that they are all involved in this post and that they'll all be marketing it too, that Stefan, YEFAT, Chris, everybody else is doing all of this stuff out there, then she knows that she's going to get promoted if she's part of this post as well. So,
and here's my favorite part of this. Today, because of how Jack wrote this one article, he has 1,670 backlinks. Look at the search term, link : space, the link to his site, that particular article. 1,670 backlinks to that particular article. Jack, how many of those did you go out and initiate yourself?
None. And this is the example of what I told you guys earlier. When you go out and you try to do all this stuff by hand, manually, yourself, and then I never got 1,600 backlinks for anything in my life, for one page of something other than a whole domain, but not certainly a page, a blog post. I never did that. But I did actively think, just like most people do, I've got to go out and generate all of this. On this one, I didn't generate one of those by hand. I did the content, I did the leveraging, I did the networking with influencers, and I got 1,600 links for a page that I never had to go out and do one link myself. So it is at least the content marketing example of joint ventures, leverage, influence, all that kind of stuff. You can easily transpose all of these different things. 1,600 links could easily have been 1,600 sales. You can transpose all of the success from that post as a content marketing piece to successful sales. There's no difference between the two. So now I can go back to these guys and I can turn all of this stuff into sales. And I have, actually. And every single one of them will remember that post that I did and the subsequent networking that opened up afterwards. Now I can talk to any one of them anytime I want. They'll always pick up the phone. They'll always look at their Google Plus alerts that have my name attached to them from this day forward, as long as it's always a fruitful relationship, that something good can happen of it. They're always going to be ears, because now they know that I have leverage that I can lend them. Not necessarily through me, like my leverage, although there is leverage there, but also they know I'm connected with other people that are really important that can give them leverage, that can grow their business. And that in this particular example, it all goes through this post. So I have to be involved in any one of those things. See, I inserted myself into a situation that I didn't really, I'm mixing it up with people who don't need me. They don't need me. They all had bigger followings on Google Plus than I did. And you know, whether or not they ever knew my name is inconsequential to whether or not their business was going to be a success anyway without me. But now, after this process, they do need me. They don't need me maybe, but they want me. They want me to be involved in certain things. They want me to be there because they know through me I can give them the leverage, that extra leverage that everybody craves, and it's the only thing that they want. Money follows leverage. They don't talk about money. They talk about leverage. They feel leverage. And at any point that you can become that important to someone in their business, you will be able to do joint venture after joint venture and come up with all kinds of really cool stuff to grow your business as well as their businesses. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
And so if you are doing blogging, if you are doing social media, once you've got the handful of members that you've got, switch gears. Start blogging the way that Jack is blogging. Start using social media the way that Jack and I are using social media. It's not necessarily intended for the message itself to bring us everybody we want as customers. The way we do it, it's designed to bring us joint venture partners and strategic alliance partners who then bring us more customers than we could ever get on our own. That is what leverage is all about. So as we wrap up here today, you really want to take some time to think about your goals. And I'd like you guys to actually take out a clean sheet of paper right now and write these down. Ask yourself, how much do you want to be making from your business per month 1 year from now? Also ask yourself, and literally write that down at the top of the piece of paper. Below it, ask yourself, who do you want to work with? Write that down too. Ask yourself, how will you spend your time a year from now? Write that down. You want to be doing all that blogging, all the social media stuff, all the things you need to do as a marketer? Are you going to be that lion out there in the jungle hunting for the elephant? Or are you going to go right to the watering hole to find your customers? You know, you really want to do some math. If you look at how much you're making right now and add to that how much you're spending in your business right now, right? So do the math. How much you're making right now, subtract from it how much you're spending right now. That's how much you're making net. Look at how much you want to be making a year from now and subtract how much you're making now net. It's going to tell you the cost of continuing to do what you're doing right now that isn't necessarily working, that isn't getting you to where you want to go. The solution is to really use joint ventures to get that leverage that you need to really shorten that dating relationship process and go from where you're at all the way up to the top and skip over everything else in the middle. And Jack and I would love to help you guys with that in a 2-day intensive training workshop that we're holding on Thursday, January 30th from 12 till 6 and Friday, January 31st from 9 till 6. Now, this isn't the kind of workshop where you got to go travel somewhere and go sit in some hard seats at a hotel that's overpriced. This is a virtual workshop. You can stay in your home office. You can even stay in your jammies if you want. But it is very, very intensive. Jack and I have done several of these workshops together in the last 6 months, and we have a blast doing them. Let's talk a little bit about what you're going to learn in this workshop, because that's a really important part. We've just barely touched on joint ventures today. There is so much more you really want to know about joint ventures if you're going to get the kind of leverage Jack and I have been talking about for the last 2 hours. At the beginning of the workshop, we're going to really spend some time talking about your audience. David did a great job explaining how important it is when he first starts working with a new client to look at who they are as a person and a business, to look at who their customers are and the benefits that they're providing to their customers. The more specific you can be in understanding who your one ideal customer is, the easier it will be to go out and land JV partners. So we're going to start the workshop with that. We're going to talk about things like knowing your audience's problems. And there really are two sets of problems. There's the problems your audience knows they have, that they're actively looking for a solution to, and then there's you don't know what you don't know kinds of problems. You've got to know the difference and know that first kind of problem, the problem your audience has that they're actively looking for solutions to, or it's going to be really difficult to get them to willingly pay money for all the great stuff you've got to offer. You also need to understand the level of awareness of your customer. Where are they at? What is it that they know now? What is it that they're buying now? It's way easier to get someone to shift their buying habits from doing business with someone else to doing business with you, rather than having to go out and get them to buy something they're not necessarily buying now. So the key in getting into joint ventures is understanding your customer at this level so that you can really then go out and figure out who are the JV partners that have that exact person as a customer right now. Then we're going to go into Module 2, and we're actually going to talk a lot about joint ventures. We've shared with you today what is a joint venture, but we really didn't get a chance to go into depth about how do you craft that win-win-win scenario that will help to ensure that every person you go to as a prospective JV partner says yes every single time. We also started to touch today on who are the right JV partners, who are your ideal JV partners. We're really going to help you to craft that outline of your ideal JV partner in Module 2 of the workshop. We're going to go into way more detail about the right mindset for JV success. We're also going to talk about the biggest mistakes in joint ventures. We're going to finally wrap that module up with things like your profit funnel and the role JVs play in building it. And that one is going to blow your mind, I assure you. Because I've never seen anyone use their funnel the way that Jack and I use our funnels for JV relationships. Module 3, Jack's going to really get to show you his stuff. That article I just shared with you, Jack's going to help you to dissect it a little bit. Because in Module 3, we're going to talk about using social media to find JV partners. Part 1. Jack's going to get a chance to dazzle you with the stuff he's doing on Google Plus to connect with influencers in his niche. And he's going to show you how to do that in your business too. We're also going to talk about using Facebook to connect to prospective JV partners. We're going to talk a little bit more about what makes for a good JV partner in social media, not just overall. And we'll talk a lot about becoming the influencer in your niche and how you can use social media to do that. In Module 4, our good friends Ira Rosen and Corey Michael Sanchez, award-winning Mojo video marketing founders, are going to come in to share with you all the great stuff they're doing on LinkedIn. You know, LinkedIn is really one of the #1 tools for finding prospective JV partners. And Ira and Corey do this in ways bigger than anybody else I've seen. They're also going to talk about how you can become a top influencer in a LinkedIn group. Boy, to go to someone that you meet on Google Plus and say, I was just named top influencer in 7 groups on LinkedIn, that gives you some credibility that you really need to get a yes out of those JV partners every single time. And they're also going to talk to you about how to craft your profile on LinkedIn so that JV partners find you. In Module 5, we're going to get into some specific kinds of JVs. We're going to talk about traffic joint ventures here. And in talking about traffic joint ventures, we're going to talk about what is the difference between affiliate marketing and joint ventures. What's the difference between content marketing and joint ventures, and how do those two things go together? We're going to talk about tracking JV partners and their referrals. Because, boy, going back to that trust thing we talked about, the easiest way to ensure that you will never work with someone again is to have bad tracking and not be able to see exactly how much money you owe them. Fastest way to kill yourself with joint ventures permanently, actually. We're also going to be talking about copywriting for JV success, both in terms of how you attract your JV partners and what you do with copy to attract your prospective customers. In Module 6, we're going to talk more specifically about product creation JVs. In my opinion, one of the most underutilized JV strategies. And this is where Mark comes in with thought leadership and the whole idea behind thought leadership in many ways. We're going to talk about becoming the biggest expert in your niche by doing product creation JVs and how that works. We'll talk about getting other experts to do your work for you by getting other experts to create your own products for you. How awesome is that as a done-for-you solution? We'll talk about finding the right partners for product creation JVs. In Module 7, we're going to go into product launch JVs. I have a ton of experience with product launch JVs, not just in the internet marketing to internet marketers niche. I have done product launch JVs in dozens of niches. Again, we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between affiliates and JV partners. When it comes to product launches, there really are two different levels of people that will help you, affiliates and JV partners. What is that difference? We'll talk about the role of the JV broker, and David Sheldon will be again on hand to talk a little more detailed about that. We'll talk about the big three. And the big three is really my term, and that means having a killer product or service, what Willie Crawford would call the world-class product or service, having an even better USP or unique selling proposition, and the third of the big three is a package that ties both 1 and 2 together. You're going to also get a copy of the JV Miracle Checklist. And it's a checklist for doing big product launch JVs. We're going to talk about the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. We'll talk about traffic for the product launch and how that works, because in a product launch, traffic is really, really critical. And you can't just rely on your JV partners' traffic. You need a little bit of help, so we'll talk about that in detail. And then we'll talk about things like moving the free line, social proof, and the kinds of tools you need to provide your JV partners with. In Module 8, we're going to go into what I love to call hybrid joint ventures. We really are going to bring Mark Harris from JV Summit in to talk about this. Mark does huge hybrid JVs, meaning that he connects offline businesses to online businesses and vice versa to really get explosive results with joint ventures. We'll talk about tracking for hybrid joint ventures as well as offline joint ventures, because that's really an important piece, especially when you're doing hybrid and offline JVs. It's hard to track when it's offline. You don't have any software to help you do it. We'll talk a little bit about how you can do that. In Module 9, we would be remiss in doing anything on joint ventures not talking about relationship building 101. That whole mindset piece of serving versus selling comes into play here. The right way and the wrong way to approach prospective JV partners. Stealth tactics for getting noticed by JV partners, like Jack's wonderful Ultimate Guide to Google Plus article. And we'll also talk a lot about strategic relationship building. In Module 10, we'll talk about that whole idea of creating a low-end membership site to generate leads for your business so that you can really do those cool kinds of strategic alliances we've talked a little bit about today. And in Module 11, we'll talk about working with other people's products to monetize each pillar of what I call your vortex. You'll learn a little more about that in this pillar too, in this module, sorry. You really can be monetizing your business selling other people's products, but you've got to do it the right way, and JVs play a huge role in that. And our last module, Module 12, is really going to be joint venture case studies. I'm going to pull Jack in and David in and Mark in and Ira and Corey in for this last module. And we're all going to get a chance to dissect joint ventures that we've been a part of so that you guys can really see how they succeeded, what mistakes were made, and how you can overcome them. And if you notice, at the end of every single module is a Q&A section. every single part of this entire almost 2-day workshop is live, it's interactive. The more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. More than likely, we're going to have no choice but to do an extra bonus half day, possibly full day, 2 weeks later, just because there's so much to cover when it comes to joint ventures. You know, there's really about 25 reasons that I can think of for why joint ventures are the solution to getting the results you want in your business. You know, number one, there isn't a faster, more proven way to quickly make a lot of money. Joint ventures really make money fast. Reason number two, when done right, JVs take a lot less effort to make a lot more money with. Who doesn't want done for you? And with JVs, you can have them done for you without the huge expense that done for you usually entails. Joint venture partnerships are enormously enjoyable to create. I've had more fun in my business the last 6 months working with Jack than I've had in the last 7 years building it myself. Reason number four, strategic partnering in joint ventures gives you more time off. And for Jack, that's a big reason, isn't it, Jack?
It's huge. It's everything. That my priorities have changed, as do the priorities of most people as they go through life. And joint venturing has saved me from having to think of something more or less desirable or fun or enjoyable to get myself out of that problem of not having enough free time.
I'm going to let you tackle the last 6 on here.
Uh-oh. Which one are we on? Partnering at best?
5.
Oh, I see. Yeah. The best way to gain exposure in your industry, well, we've covered that a lot today. Your market or niche, and that's all starts with the authority stuff and borrowing authority to get to the point where you don't have to borrow anything anymore. You use leverage, and then you gain influence. And once you get to the influence level, you are done. You are done. Richard Branson is in the influence level. Long ago, Steve Jobs became part of the influence level. He could just blink in a certain direction and things would happen. Doing joint ventures gets you there quicker. Duh. Yeah, very much quicker. And that's what this whole thing is about. Got to get things done quicker. Got to get things done in less time, with less time and involvement on my part or your part personally. That's very, very important. There's no better way to create a free, independent business in life. I would have to agree with that. Absolutely, 100%. Strategic partnering is the easiest way to take advantage of new opportunities, and not only that, but to discover them in the first place. If you were not doing strategic partnering, you wouldn't be exposed to things that you currently don't know anything about, that could fly right by you and be picked up by somebody else just because they were paying attention, because they were doing strategic partnerships. There's so many things that have come out of mine and Gina's relationship outside of the things that we got together for. There's just tons of stuff. Sparks just fly and go in all different directions, and new opportunities become apparent because you're partnering with other people who have assets and things that you don't, and connections and ideas and access to people with ideas and other connections. It's huge. Working in a vacuum, you get nothing of that. Having great partners who love what they do frees you up to do what you love. Absolutely. I think we've said that over and over today in many different ways, between me and Gina as an example, but you know, I'm sure people on this call can come up with examples of when that has been true for them. That's
Absolutely.
number 10.
Awesome. And you know, as I was talking about this particular webinar and the upcoming workshop with Mark Harris, Mark said, you know, Gina, why don't we make this package even bigger? And so we decided to add some stuff to it that we hadn't intended on adding even as recently as yesterday. With Mark doing the upcoming Joint Venture Summit with us, or we're doing it with him, I should say, part of that includes something called the JV Jumpstart Package, which is really kind of cool. The JV Jumpstart Package consists of many different components, and I wish I could tell you all of them, but I really don't even know all of them. The 2 parts I do know about are huge. First off, the JV Summit is going to have between 500 and 1,000 attendees. Many of them associations, chambers of commerce, bigger offline businesses, and many online businesses. Mark is creating a private Google Plus community where all of those attendees can be networking with one another and joint venturing with one another. So Mark agreed that anyone coming to the upcoming JV Systems Workshop 2, January 30th and 31st, could become a part of that wonderful private community. And as part of that community, Mark and I are both putting together a JV assessment. And it's one of those things where you're going to tell us a lot of detail about who you are, what your business is about, what kinds of JV partners you really want to work with, what you do with customers, and what benefits customers get from working with you, so that we can create a booklet that will be shared only in that private Google Plus community. And when we get these assessments put together in that booklet, Mark, Jack, and I are actually going to be going through each and every person in the booklet to find a minimum and possibly more of 3 JV partners for each and every person. And you guys are going to have the opportunity to take part in that as well. So the Google Plus community for JV Jumpstart, as well as the JV assessment, and several other goodies. I'm told that Mark has another piece in there. I'm told that Alex Mendosian, you talk about the king of JVs, it's Alex Mendosian. He has a part in there, and that is all being wrapped up together with the JV Systems Workshop 2. But wait, as Jack would say, we're not done yet, because there are still some more bonuses too. Bonus number 1, you get a complimentary strategy session. It might be with me, it might be with Jack, it might even be with the 2 of us together. We normally charge $1,997 to do strategy sessions. You guys get that as a bonus for taking part in the upcoming workshop. You also get lifetime access to what used to be called the 30-day I Am Challenge Gold membership that this year has become the Motivation to Profit membership. Similar to the membership site I've been mentioning several times on today's training. It retails at $19.95 a month. You get lifetime access to it by coming to the JV Systems Workshop. You also get my course called Secret Confessions of the JV Queen, How to Leverage the Power of Joint Ventures and Affiliate Management to Make Your First Million Online. And it's really a product that is multimedia that includes both a PDF, an EXE file that I know Max can't use. We're working on getting that one into PDF, many audios, many videos. And it's all very much based on everything I did and experienced as a JV broker. And it's all rolled up into this one package that we call Joint Venture Systems Workshop 2 and the JV Jumpstart package. You can get it right now at askggg.com/JV call, JVCALL. And you'll see on the page the JV Systems Workshop 2, the JV Jumpstart, and like I said, the page is not going to outline all the details of the JV Jumpstart package. I just didn't have all of it to put in. Mark is going to get me those details in the next week. And when he does, I will come back to the JV call page and update bonus number 2, the Joint Venture Summit Private Google Plus Community plus JV Assessment with the rest of the details. Everything else is outlined on here. As you see, we have a couple of different options for you guys. There is the 1 installment option, which is $247. I'll tell you, if you look at just the Secret Confessions of the JV Queen, which retails right this minute for $77. You look at the strategy session, which retails right now at $9.97 or $19.97, depending upon where you get it. The JV Jumpstart package, Mark just told me this morning about 8:30. He is going to sell JV Jumpstart starting next week at $297. Yet you guys get all of this at one installment of $247. And if that doesn't work for you, you can also use PayPal's Bill Me Later, which means you can take up to 6 months to take care of the tuition of $247 at 0% interest. Simply make payments to PayPal. So you want to go to askggg.com/JV call right now. And when you do, oh gosh, didn't want that to happen. When you do, reserve your seat. Make sure that you pay attention after you've reserved your seat, because there is a very, very, very special opportunity that is only going to be there for the next 7 days. And that very special opportunity is to actually secure a VIP access package to the upcoming JV Summit in March in Atlanta. This VIP access package has so many benefits to it, I cannot even begin to tell you. First are all 3 days worth of content. There are power sessions every single day. There are breakout sessions happening every single one of the 3 days. And the breakout sessions alone are incredible. You not only get all of that, you get special VIP seating, you get first choice of your breakout sessions. There are JV Summit networking sessions. Jack and I are facilitating many of them. You get special VIP seating, special VIP reservations. There's a short video from Mark here sharing this with you. Here's the part that I'm super jazzed about, guys. When you reserve your tickets, after you reserved your ticket to the workshop, you second reserve your ticket to the summit. You can reserve your ticket right now for one installment of $697. This is retailing starting next week at $1997. As I already mentioned, there will be 500 to 1,000 people at this summit, all of them looking for joint ventures while they are there. You want to get on the fast track to getting JVs going. Between now and March 11th, when we all show up in Atlanta, you're going to go to the JV Systems Workshop 2, January 30th and 31st. We're really going to help you figure out your goals, plan out what you want from joint ventures. I'm doing some hangouts with Mark between then and March. Jack is as well. We will do at least one, the 3 of us. We will help to make sure that by the time you hit Atlanta March 11th, you are ready for the kind of JVs that you can get at that event. That is just got me so excited. For you guys to get your tickets at $1,300 off is only available for the next 7 days. So don't walk, run to askggg.com/JVCALL. Scroll down to the bottom of the page. Choose whichever option works best for you, 1 installment, 2 installments, PayPal, Bill Me Later, whatever works best for you. And then on the next page, after you take care of your tuition of the workshop, make sure you scroll down to the bottom and choose one of the 2 options to reserve your seat for Atlanta for the summit. You know, Jack and I really do have a mission, and we do everything we do. We go this long in a webinar because of it. Our mission is to help every person on the planet to live the life of their dreams. And it's not a mission we can accomplish on our own. The only way we can accomplish this is by working with entrepreneurs, helping each entrepreneur that we work with to live the life of their dreams by building a business that uses the power of the internet. By helping all of you really make a difference in the lives of your customers, together we really can accomplish our mission to touch every person on this planet and help them all live the life of their dreams. And so we leave you with simple one question. Will you be the next entrepreneur that we help? We hope so, and we hope to get a chance to get to know you a little bit better in the upcoming JV Systems Workshop 2. Again, www.askggg.com/JVCALL. Did I miss any questions in the questions box, Jack?
Trish is asking if there's recommendations for lodging.
There are recommendations for lodging. The event is being held at the Crown Plaza in Atlanta near the airport. Mark has got a really, really great rate at the Crown Plaza. I know Crown Plazas are normally super pricey. It's less than $150. I want to say it's around $125 a night. There's also a couple of other hotels in the area if you need something else. We can also help you with things like sharing a room. So once you do register for the JV Summit, I will make sure that Mark gets emails out to you with all of the recommendations with regard to lodging. If there are any other questions, please pop them in the questions box because Jack and I will happily answer them before we leave.
You didn't leave anything for me to say. No fair.
I'm sorry.
No fair.
Say something.
Well,
Are you jazzed about
I
the
was
workshop
thinking
like I
maybe
am?
you didn't make as big a point out of something that I think should be made a bigger point, and that is, what if you could go to this JV Summit in Atlanta with the power of the stuff that we're going to show you in the workshop? I mean, if you think about that for a second, and even broader and going out a little bit more generally, because Gina's been in specific mode for quite a bit here. Just, we have to. This is where you get specific. Here's what we're doing. Here's where you go to get involved. But a little bit more general, go back to when we were talking about if we made any sort of connection with you, if that stuff made sense, what we're talking about is real. It's real for us. This JV stuff is extraordinarily important. Leverage, authority, influence is everything in our business. It's real to us, but I know how hard it was for me being on the outside of it to understand when people were telling me these things, the real gravity of it. If we made a breakthrough at all today in that, then the natural path is to continue on. And even though we went really long today, of course we went really, really long, but we do that all the time because it's like value. And if people are, 4 people have dropped off the call compared to when this call started. Since the call started, only 4 people had to drop off, and that's because probably they had not known that we were going to go until 4 Eastern time, and they had other things to do. So naturally, they're going to be listening to the recording. If people are still here and you still think there's something to this, if we made any sort of a breakthrough today, then the natural progression, because this, I think you can understand, you can feel the honesty, you can feel the realness in both mine and Gina's voices and how we come across, and certainly how we love to deliver really good, actionable content. Then the next natural thing is a tiny little step of just continuing to be involved in this, and we can get in deeper on all of the issues that we talked about and many more that we couldn't talk about today on the workshop. And then you can leverage all of that, take that to Atlanta, and you're going to be in the midst of tons and tons of people who are also going to be there for the very specific reason of joint ventures, joint venturing. And even now, even people who are not in your industry can be awesome joint venture partners, because now you don't have a one-dimensional view of joint ventures. You have a 3-dimensional view of all the different people it takes to make a really successful company inside and outside your industry. If somebody has a stage and their own fans, that would be great for your product services to be in your network of influence. A lot of them are going to be there, and they're all going to be there for this express purpose of being approachable and approached about joint ventures and meeting new people and networking. You couldn't get a better, more gentle introduction to networking, leverage, and joint ventures than going to an event like that. And then going with the power of everything that we've covered and all the stuff you're going to have in your back pocket from the workshop at the end of January with me and Gina and all our guests, then it's going to be the best kind of situation all around that you could possibly expect. And it would launch, once you realize, and you probably are just taking my word or Gina's word for it now, that everything revolves around your ability to network and have other people come into your company, be around your company, orbit your company, and the things that you do in order to get to the really big levels, the sustainable levels, where you can take a vacation and your company grows. It doesn't just stay open, it grows while you're gone, while you're not touching it. The only way to get to that point is to achieve a level of success that only joint venture and networking can get you, and leverage and influence that you build to a certain point where from that point forward
You've got everything under you that you need, the foundation that you need to be able to go around and do the fun stuff that Branson does. You know, he's just having a blast now. How could he be the head of a billion dollar company, sending people into space and everything else? And how can a guy like that have fun too? Well, it's all he does. All he does is have fun. And the only reason that he can do that, the only reason, there is no other explanation than joint ventures and leverage. That's what got him to where he is. That's why he can float around and do all the fun stuff around his company and everything that his company does. He can own islands and everything else because of leverage and joint ventures. And not saying that all you guys are going to become billionaires. Not all of us really want that. All we want is freedom. Number one, freedom. Pure and simple freedom. It doesn't take billions of dollars to get that for anybody. That's a goal that he had, and he wanted it, and he went out and got it. But that doesn't have to be your goal. But at the heart of anybody's goals and success with all of this is going to be joint ventures and networking, always and forever. Whether it's defined by you as a joint venture or just leverage or, eventually just how much you can influence crowds of people to move in any direction that you choose, that you direct them to. When you're able to do that kind of stuff, you're done with business and having to worry about your financial future and all of that kind of stuff. When you can do that, the path to that is getting a lot more serious than we even knew we were allowed to be, that we could get. Going away from doing tactics, selling ebooks, and doing one-dimensional joint ventures and things like that. Getting away from all of that stuff and being able to focus all your attention on the thing that's going to make your business really bigger and, most importantly, stable and self-growing, then you've really arrived. And the path to that is this. So you guys are you're in the catbird seat right now.
And Dr.Gina did forget a few things. Yes, Mary Kay, absolutely you do get the recordings of everything. In fact, you get the recordings in both audio and video format. Just that every single module will have flowcharts or checklists, sometimes both. Oftentimes they're created in front of you at the live workshop, and you get all of that as well. It all gets produced into a podcast. A podcast is something that is there permanently. It's an RSS feed that has multimedia attachments in it. And we add things to those podcasts all the time. So you'll have lifetime access to those podcasts. And then you'll also get access to our Google Plus community, where you'll be able to interact with one another, joint venture with one another, etc. So thank you so much for asking. I didn't mean to forget that really important piece. Yeah. Matthew, I know for a fact, Mark and I just talked about this on Monday, that there will be several associations that are healthcare related, like for healthcare professionals. There will also be a couple for insurance professionals, a couple for financial professionals. He's pretty sure at least one association for lawyers will be there at Summit. There is a 3-installment option on the Summit. There is a 2-installment option for the workshop. If that makes it easier for you guys, by all means, do it. When you reserve your seat for the workshop, the $247, one time, or 2 installments of, what was it, $137, you'll get taken to the opportunity to reserve your seat for the Summit. If you don't want that, please don't just close your browser window. Scroll down to the bottom and click on that No Thanks, so that you still get the JV Jumpstart package and the JV Systems Workshop 2 thank you page, so that you know how to get in on the 30th and the 31st. We will send you reminder emails. You also, remember, get as a bonus the lifetime access to the Motivation to Profit membership, formerly called the 30-Day IM Challenge. And there are calls that go with that. They take place every week on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. I need to be on that call in just 5 minutes. So you can start those as early as next week. You don't have to wait until the 30th to get started with that. And all of the instructions are on the thank you page. So thank you so much for hanging in there, guys, for 3 hours. I hope you guys really got some value out of this. Before we leave, I'd like to take a couple of minutes and ask you guys for probably the most important thing to Jack and I, and that is, what are you taking away from today's call? What is that one thing that made you go, oh, it's something that you went, wow, I really got to use this in my business? If you could go into the questions and type a couple of little notes about what you're taking away, that's what really drives Jack and I. We love that more than anything else. It really is what tells us, are we on track with our mission? Are we really touching your life in a deep enough way that you could go out and touch the life of someone else? So what are you taking away? And if you want to tell us out loud, feel free to raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Now, come on, guys.
Oh, they're probably
Nobody
ordering.
has a takeaway?
Give them a break. They're probably ordering the tickets.
My fault.
JVs
Jim
are
says
marketing's
JVs
easy
are
button.
Marketing's easy button. I love it. That's awesome. And how about reading Trish checks?
I love the little purple book of favors. That was Trish's
And I'm really
thing.
serious. Those are very real. In fact, you know, I should take a picture of all my little purple books of favors. Some are in storage. They're not all with me. I don't know. I have to find a way to get a picture of all my little purple books of favors.
Yeah.
Come on, just one more and make me feel like we really did a good job, guys.
Stop ordering your Atlanta tickets for a second and give Gina some feedback. And then go back to ordering your Atlanta tickets.
I should also tell you, when you're ordering your Atlanta tickets, guys, make sure if you can't do it today and you want to wait, I'm not kidding, that page is going to be $19.97 by the end of next week. Mark hasn't told me what day yet. I'll give you guys at least 7 days. I'll twist his arm that hard. So if you bookmark that page, you will be able to get back to it. But don't wait, because if you wait, it's going to cost you $1,300. Trish says she just got pumped and re-energized. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And
Hey,
Linda
Gina,
says that we're inspiring her to make JVs a core part of her business. Good job, Linda. Go ahead, Jack.
tell people how you feel about Mark and I mean, you know, I think some people may think, well, a conference, you know, that's a novel idea and everything, but doesn't everybody have conferences? Can't anybody put together a little thing in a room in Atlanta? Can you tell them what it really is?
Oh, yeah. This is a conference unlike anything I've ever been a part of. It is what I have dreamed of as a JV summit for years. I have been involved in every single step of planning this conference since September. So it is conference for JVs, Gina style, really, truly. It is not like most events that call themselves JV events, where you go and you get a bunch of speakers up on the stage and you're sitting there in one place all 3 days, just seeing speaker with a pitch, speaker with a pitch, speaker with a pitch, and very little done with joint ventures. No, 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 that is not this event. Each day there will be a handful of speakers on a big stage in a big room with all attendees watching that one speaker. But the vast majority of the day is breakout sessions. Some of those breakout sessions are industry-specific speakers. Some of those breakout sessions are actually networking sessions. Every day there are 2 facilitated networking sessions. And we hope to have at least 5, possibly as many 10 different groups of networking people, so that you can really be in a room, not with all 500 to 1,000 participants who don't all have the same audience, but in your networking room will be those people that have your ideal customers and only your ideal customers. And there will be several of us who do JVs for a living. It's our business to do JVs, that will be in that room helping to make the connections happen in real time. We are bringing experts in like Dr. Brad Semp, who has one of the biggest JVs I've heard about in a long time with Evernote. Brad is one of the biggest experts in how to use Evernote's product called Hello. It's an app on cell phones, specifically for networking. In fact, Brad is the very first speaker at the summit to help every participant get Hello installed and actively using it. Mark and I are actually going to also be using Hello and pushing information onto your smartphones live in the room when appropriate, because there's an ideal JV partner that you need to meet. It is leveraged networking to the max. Jack and I have been so excited every time we talk about this because there are so many cool things that should have been done at networking events that we've never seen done, yet we're doing it at this event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's, those things are usually, quite frankly, to be honest, and I think we've known each other now long enough to be honest about stuff, is that they suck. Networking events always never give you what you think you should get out of them. Like, oh gosh, I'm going to network, I'm going to get all this stuff out of it. And you walk out of that room every single time going, that really wasn't what I expected. I don't think I got much out of that. Then you start thinking about the ticket price that you paid and all that stuff, and networking was supposed to be a big part of it. Me and Gina have been through that lots and lots of times over the last decade plus. And we've had that same experience every single time. We've never not. So now Mark puts us in charge, partially in charge, and now we have our input. And my biggest thing was, yeah, sure, have networking event, but let's make it work this time. Let's get people to get something out of this thing. And here are all of our ideas, all of Gina's ideas, all of my ideas, all the things that we've never seen anybody actually do and implement at one of these conferences and networking events are all going to be there now. And we know what doesn't work. We know what we don't want. So we put everything into these things that would actually have us walking out going, wow, that was worth the price of the ticket, the whole price of the ticket, just that 1 hour or that one event right there. So rest assured, we've paid a lot of attention to that. That is not a lip service thing at all. It's a really big deal. You know what,
Jack? Let's do this one more bigger. If you're not existing DU bachelor student and you pick up a ticket to Joint Venture Summit in March, Jack and I will do your strategy session live at the event.
Mm-hmm. We can do that. We'll be really busy, but we'll do it.
Well, I'm bringing Shelby with me. She'll help us make it happen.
All right. I'm going to pick some of the people for strategy sessions who want to meet at the bar. And that way I can hang out and have a beer and also get some work done at the same time. How's that sound?
Can't we, make all of them happen at the bar?
Gina's like, why can't I be at the bar?
Why at the bar?
Sure, I guess. If there's room for more than 2 people at the bar, you can go too.
Well, we won't choose a bar that doesn't have that. So
I've never been at a bar that only has 2.
Trish wanted to give us another takeaway, and then I have to go do the gold call. Go ahead, Trish.
Well, I think I already did it in the chat. It's just after going through, 6 or 8 weeks of retail hell, I finally, today, I just got, re-energized, and I'm on fire again, and I just feel so good, and I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. Well, thank you